essential for use during periods and also an episode of drought. The National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority, which was established through the Water Act Cap 372, is mandated to undertake the development of national public water works for water resources, storage, and flood control on behalf of the national government. Additionally, the Ministry of Water, Sanitation, and Irrigation developed the National Water Harvesting and Storage Strategy 2020-2025 with the aim of reforming the water sector by increasing water harvesting and storage for domestic use and reducing water-related risks for the population and economy, among others. Honorable Speaker, the Tana River region experiences extreme weather cycles throughout the year, with the residents experiencing floods and heavy rains in upstream areas and extreme drought in the region in equal measure, particularly Masinga area. This has in turn adversely affected the residents and their livelihoods that depend on crop and livestock farming. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee of Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation on the following. Provide detailed report on the status of implementation of the National Water Harvesting and Storage Strategy 2020 to 2025 in the country, and specifically in Tana River Basic Region. The mechanism being implemented to build resilient and communities within the Tana River Basin and assist them to mitigate the effects of floods during and after heavy rainfall, and steps being taken by the ministry through National Water Harvesting and Storage Authority to develop disaster management infrastructure, including construction of irrigation tunnels in Masinga constituency and other identified flood-prone areas. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chair, Blue Economy, Water and Irrigation. Yes, Mukunji. Hold on, Boyd.
Chair, I just wanted to comment on...
Which chair?
Oh, sorry. Honorable Speaker, thank you. I wanted to actually add my weight to that statement.
But you know, Mukunji, ordinarily,
yes,
we don't allow joyriders on statements.
it's good to issue comments.
Questions.
Yes.
Yes.
But, Honorable Speaker, it's a shame that this country still reels with poverty and lack of water in many areas when God has blessed this country with a lot of water in rivers and in rain, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say that I propose that board to either be disbanded or they do their work in terms of water collection so that we don't continue importing our food when this country is blessed with water. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Bowen, 2 weeks.
Mr. Speaker, the statement by Honorable Mwale is very important and it requires a very comprehensive answer. Mr. Speaker, as you have heard even from the Honorable Mukunji, I request for 4 weeks, Mr. Speaker, and I will bring a very comprehensive answer.
Bring in 3 weeks.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable John Mwirigi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I request for a statement regarding KEMRI investigation into eye cancer prevalence in Meru County. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to provision of Standing Order 44-2C, I wish to request for a statement from the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Health regarding the status of the report by Kenya Medical Research Institute on the probe into high prevalence of cancer in Meru County. Honorable Speaker, the Kenya Medical Research Institute, KEMRI, is a state corporation established under legal notice number 35 of 2021. The institute is responsible for, amongst other roles, carrying out research on human health in the country. In 2020, KEMRI undertook an investigation in the high prevalence of cancer in Meru County, specifically in Akachu and Kiegoi locations in Igembe South constituency. The research was prompted by the distressing frequency of cancer-related death and ongoing suffering of Meru County residents battling various forms of diseases, including throat, breast, tongue, eye, mouth, prostate, and prostate cancer. The primary objective of the research, including advancing the understanding of the underlying causes of the prevalence of the cancer in the region and enhancing preventive strategies. However, it is deeply concerning that 4 years since the commencement of the investigation, KEMRI has not released any findings or progress report on the matter. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of Departmental Committee on Health and on the following. A comprehensive report on the findings of the 2020 investigation into the high prevalence of cancer in Meru County and specifically Igembe South constituency, including the identified causes or risk factors contributing to high cancer rate. And number two, the immediate and the long-term strategies the government plans to implement to curb the rising cases of cancer in Meru County. I thank you.
Chairman Health, Dr. Bukose, 2 weeks.
Honorable Speaker, the member for Igembe South has asked for a comprehensive report. I'm aware of the research that was carried out, which was a data collection from that area of Maua. So, but they have not done, and it was in collaboration between KEMRI and the county government of Meru. We've not been able to fund them adequately, but I'll be able to provide that data which they have collected, maybe in a period of 2 weeks.
2 weeks it is.
Yes, but it will not be very comprehensive because of the limited resources and the time for what they did.
Dorothy, what is it? I said no joyriders to statements. What is it you want to say?
Honorable Speaker, I beg you allow me a hand to what Honorable Mwirigi has said. Indeed, cancer is the greatest killer of our people. And Honorable Speaker, I did raise a statement here one time that the only cancer center that was supposed to help the Meru people was the Dadan Kimathi Cancer Center, which stored many years back. Honorable Speaker, I want the chair to take this with the urgency so that our people can be at least assisted because they are dying in their numbers. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, because
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to inform the honorable member that the government is in the process, the national government, in collaboration with the county government in setting up a regional cancer institute in Meru. The Tetan Kimathi will be for Nyeri. So for Meru, we'll do the regional cancer center in Meru. And if the members propose, we could put it even in Maua.
Robert Mbui, no. You will get an answer, yes. Hold on, Robert. Yes, John Paul. Give to John Paul the mic.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I wanted to beg you, according to the chairman has said that the report which he will give in 2 weeks' time will not be that comprehensive. And according to this matter is a very weighty matter, Chairman, Mr. Speaker, it's good for the chairman to tell us what maybe do he require from this house so that he can bring a comprehensive report.
Let's see the report when it comes. We'll judge whether it will be comprehensive or not. Boy, Robert, member
thank you.
for Kadian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a request for a statement regarding payment of last expense, stroke group life claim to the parents of a deceased child in Kadiani constituency. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Article of Standing Order 44.2c, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health regarding payment of the last expense group life claim to the parents of the late Willie James Muo, a parent of Nduguni Secondary School. Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that upon the death of the minor, and that is Willie James Muo, on 14th July 2023, the parents have faced great challenges with regard to processing of claims for the last expense and group life benefits provided under the Edu Afya scheme. The parents followed the required procedures in filling the claim, but were informed by the National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, that the payment could not be made to them as a unique personal identifier, UPI number, assigned to their deceased child was erroneously allocated to another student in NHIF records. They were then referred to the Ministry of Education to request for rectification of this error and ensure harmonization of the UPI number on their systems. Honorable Speaker, the Ministry of Education confirmed to the parents that the UPI number indeed belonged to their deceased child and was not erroneously assigned to any other student. Despite this confirmation, the parents have continued to face obstacles in obtaining their rightful compensation, and efforts to harmonize the UPI numbers within the NHIF system have been in vain. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health on the following. 1, what steps have been taken by the Ministry of Education to resolve the UPI number discrepancy in the records of the NHIF? 2, provide the timelines within which these issues shall be resolved and the parents of the late Willie James Muo compensated. And 3, state the measures that are in place to ensure that there is collaboration between NHIF and the Ministry of Education so that we ensure that UPI numbers assigned to students correctly reflect in their systems. And Mr. Speaker, I'll further follow up on the issue of Edu Afya going forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Chairman, 2 weeks.
Honorable Speaker, I'll give a response in 2 weeks, and I'll also be able to respond to Edu Afya. As you know, the cabinet sat and approved that Edu Afya will continue. So we want to assure the parents outside there that they should not worry the children in school, and even it is extended because even those in the lower classes will also be covered. So I think it should not be something to worry about.
Chief Foromondo Mangale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44.2c, I rise to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Labor regarding the gazettement of Lungalunga Sub-County as a hardship area. Honorable Speaker, hardship allowance was introduced as an incentive to teachers and other public officers working in remote areas to compensate for lack of basic amenities such as hospitals, poor infrastructure, harsh climate conditions, and communication access. Sadly, Lungalunga Sub-County is an area where teachers are forced to travel long distances to access medical services, proper housing, and other basic amenities. These challenges have resulted to many of the teachers working in Lungalunga Sub-County seeking transfers to other areas with better working conditions, leading to insufficient number of teachers in the area. Honorable Speaker, a country-wide data collection exercise aimed at reviewing the hardship area was led by the Interagency Committee with representation from different ministries. state agencies and commissions, the Interagency Committee, in its report of 17 September 2021, listed Lunga Lunga among other areas to be gazetted as hardship areas to allow for enhanced allowances of public servants, including teachers. Despite the proposal, Lunga Lunga sub-county is yet to be gazetted as a hardship area. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of Departmental Committee on Labor on the following. One, the measures in place by the Ministry of Public Service, Performance and Delivery Management to ensure the gazettement of Lunga Lunga sub-county as a hardship area and provide details on the timelines to be taken for the gazettement of the area. And two, the reason as to why there has been delay in implementation of the recommendation of the Interagency Committee that Lunga Lunga sub-county be gazetted as a hardship area. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Chief Oromondo, are you sure you've directed your question to the correct committee?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, because then the matter is before the Ministry of Public Service, which is, in most cases, is handled by the Departmental Committee of Labor.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Chair Labor? Is it Karemba? I thought so too. Karemba, Owen, inform them to bring the statement response in 2 weeks.
Okay. Much obliged.
Joseph Lekuton.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44(2) Section C, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding erosion of the Serima-Loyangalani Road. Honorable Speaker, for generations, Lake Turkana has been a vital resource for the economic and cultural well-being of the residents within its environment, including the El Molo community, which is considered as the smallest community in this country, Mr. Speaker, and the most indigenous. Regrettably, the rising water levels in Lake Turkana beyond its banks has eroded critical infrastructure over the years, such as the Serima-Loyangalani Road, rendering it impassable. This situation has worsened the supply of goods and services in the area. Honorable Speaker, it's against this background that I seek to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on the following. A detailed report on the urgent measures being taken to ensure the Serima-Loyangalani Road is rehabilitated, urgent measures being put in place to ensure all affected residents receive food and basic amenities, and, Mr. Speaker, steps being taken to ensure that the water from Lake Turkana is reusable for agriculture in the surrounding semi-arid areas. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Chairman, Transport and Infrastructure, GK.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I request for 3 weeks to respond to that statement.
You can do it in 2 weeks?
Yes, but if you give me 3,
the honorable member,
I have more, many
more
statements.
The questioner came to the Speaker's chamber very agitated about this issue.
Okay.
Yes. You better consult with him and bring a response in 2 weeks.
I'll do so,
yes.
Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
Honorable members, before I call the next, allow me to acknowledge the following institutions in the Speaker's gallery. Kapsabet Girls High School Mgwen in Nandi, Kemeloi Boys High School from Aldai, Nandi. On behalf of the House and myself, we welcome the students, their teachers, and whoever else is accompanying them to the House of Parliament. Thank you. David Kiplagat, DK.
Thank you, Speaker. Request for a statement regarding the expansion of Leseru Kitale Kortum Highway. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 44.2c, I wish to request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure regarding the expansion of the Leseru Kitale Kortum Highway. Honorable Speaker, the Leseru Kitale Kortum Highway, a critical link of the Kenya-South Sudan Road Corridor, has been in dire need of rehabilitation and expansion, including providing for climbing lanes. The narrow highway has caused significant challenges to road users and pedestrians. The road is in serious state of dilapidated and requires rehabilitation. These challenges have severely affected residents by disrupting and hindering the flow of goods and services within the area. Additionally, the narrowness of the road has led to accidents resulting in the loss of life. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I request for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Transport and Infrastructure on the following. Measures being taken to address the safety concerns of the residents regarding the dilapidated and narrow state of the Leseru Kitale Kortum Highway. 2, the relief measures the government is putting in place to compensate the families of the residents who have lost their livelihood through accidents as a result of the narrow state of the road. And lastly, the long-term plans being implemented to rehabilitate and expand the said critical road, including the current plans, if any, to secure external funding for development of the road. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
DK, Chair, Infrastructure, Transport.
2 weeks, Honorable Speaker.
2 weeks it is. Thank you. Honorable members, in respect to response to statements, I have been informed by the Chair, Committee on Administration and Internal Security, that questions by Adan Kainan Eldas, Danson Mwashako Undanyi, Farah Sala Fafi, and Ariko Namoit were discussed between the committee, the ministry, and the questioners, and that the honorable members were satisfied with the outcome. So we'll rest those there. And I invite the Chair Health to respond to a question by Irene Mayaka, nominated MP, on lack of facilities specializing in treatment of endometriosis. Yes, Tongoyo? I thought that's what you told me.
Being, of course, these are documents of the House, I table with the clerks.
Those who raised questions can look at them. Yes, Oundo?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. During the same session, Honorable Speaker, I represented Honorable David Ochieng in respect of a question about abduction, and the question was insufficiently answered, and the Cabinet Secretary promised to furnish additional information, so I thought the Chair will be kind enough to inform the House that the question was not adequately answered, more information is required, so that we can put the matter to closure. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Tongoyo, when can you bring additional information, either to the House or directly to the member?
I think I could follow the same suit because the only bit that was remaining was the minister to furnish the updated number of deaths, and that is why I have not included with what I had submitted with the clerks. And he had promised to do within 48 hours, so it will be available on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Thank you. Chair Health.
If I could just have 2 minutes, my document is at the reception.
Okay. Go and collect. Let's go to the next response by the Chair Lands to a question by Honorable Monica Marubu, MP, Lamu County. Is Monica Marubu in the house? Pardon? Rueda, you can...
Yeah, I can do it for her.
Okay, Chairman, you ready?
I'm ready, yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 44, the Honorable Monica Marubu, MP, requested the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Lands to provide a response on the implementation of Hindi Magogoni Phase 2 settlement scheme on the following. Number one, explanation as to why it has taken long for the team at the Ministry of Lands to conclude the operationalization of Magogoni settlement scheme, considering that the officers were funded to the tune of 18 million by the county government of Lamu. Number two, the timelines within which the title deeds to legitimate beneficiaries of Hindi settlement scheme will be issued. And number three, a list of the original beneficiaries of the 19,019 acres of land in phase 1 of the Hindi Magogoni settlement scheme. Honorable Speaker, here is my response. Honorable Speaker, the land being referred to measures approximately 16,000 acres. It was reserved on 13th January 1997 for the settlement of squatters at Hindi Magogoni settlement scheme, phase 1 and phase 2. It was to be managed by the Settlement Fund Trustees, SFT, now referred to as Land Settlement Fund Board of Trustees. In 2013, Honorable Speaker, the ministry developed a plan for 4-acre farm plots. The county government of Lamu did not concur with the plan by the ministry and instead proposed a 1/4 to 1 acre mixed-use plots. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker, consultations held between the county government and the ministry led to the harmonization of the two plans while taking cognizance of the expanded 500-meter wide lapset corridor and the land uses. The harmonized plan provided for 2-acre plots which were approved by the ministry. Honorable Speaker, in 2019, the ministry and the county government of Lamu began profiling of the squatters. However, the exercise experienced a number of challenges, including, number one, several people having fenced off huge chunks of land. Number two, we also had a problem of massive invasion by both local and non-locals. Challenge number three, Mr. Speaker, some squatters presented multiple identity cards for absentee landlords. Number four, political interference from some leaders by excluding those perceived to be from outside the area. Number six, county government plans to establish an urban centers in order to collect revenue. And then number seven, rampant insecurity in the area. Honorable Speaker, in 2022, following the August general election, a new county administration came into office. Following this new development, the ministry undertook to carry out further consultations with various stakeholders with a view of finding a lasting solution. So far, several stakeholders meetings have been conducted to build consensus on the settlement program. A number of solutions have been agreed upon as follows. Number one, the State Department for Livestock to cede claim of 2,047 hectares, which is approximately 5,000 and 60 acres from the scheme. Number 2, LAPSET teams to sensitize beneficiaries and public on the different land uses and zoning along the corridors. Number 3, beneficiaries of the land to be identified after the survey.
Order, Honorable Soro is against the standing orders to stand between the member on the floor and the speaker.
Number 4, thank you, Honorable Speaker, the Boni community to be considered in the scheme alongside others. Number 5, Honorable Speaker, public participation, barasas be conducted and ground committees be elected. And number 6, Honorable Speaker, the Lamu County Security Team to secure project area to guard against invasion. Honorable Speaker, the issue at hand is quite emotive and requires extensive consultations between the ministry, the county government of Lamu, Ministry of Interior and National Administration, political leaders and the local leaders to build consensus on the way forward. The ministry will spearhead these consultations in the current financial year, 2024-2025. Once consensus is built, the ministry will commence the process of surveying, demarcation, and titling. Therefore, it's not possible to give realistic timelines for issuance of the titles in the scheme. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Rueda.
Bwana Spika, haya yanaongelewa hapa si ukweli. Dadangu Muthoni ameweka, lakini amekuja hapa bunge kwa sababu hatuhusishwi, hakuna mtu leaders ameitwa na hakuna mtu amepinga. Asiseme ati political leaders, sote mimi sijawahi itwa, Mheshimiwa Mudhama hajawahi itwa, Mheshimiwa Muthoni hajawahi itwa, hiyo leaders wengine ni kina nani? Na Lamu kuna constituency 2 na women rep 1. Hatujawahi itwa, hiyo ni uongo. Ya pili, kuna kigezo hapo.
Neno uongo halikubaliki kutumiwa katika bunge.
Sasa niseme nini Speaker? Manake si ukweli.
Sema ukosefu wa ukweli.
Haya. Well guided, Bwana Speaker. Na kitu kingine Bwana Speaker kinatumika kwa Lamu. Kitu chochote ukiuliza, kama pengine kuna uzembe pahali, wanasema insecurity. Hakuna utovu wa usalama Lamu. Tunaishi, tunaenda pale tunataka. Hapo Hindi watu wako wengi, miradi mingi na LAPSET wako. Sasa utovu wa usalama umetokea wapi? Ni wamekosa kusema ukweli, ndio wanatumia kigezo cha utovu wa usalama. Na hii ardhi sijui ni hii ya Swahili scheme, manake hiyo Swahili scheme hapo imeleta utata. Kila governor akiingia analeta sheria zake na mambo hayaendi, yanasonga hapo hapo. Lakini sio kwamba ni member of parliament au political leaders. Kwa hivyo mimi nilikuwa ningeomba huyo waziri aje au nilitengeze swali vingine muniambie vipi nitafanya ili waziri aje ajibu sahihi. Manake sahihi tu ni kama kugombeza chair bure na yeye hajui hayo mambo yameenda vipi huko. Yeye amepewa lazima asome hivyo. Asante.
Mwenyekiti.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think that's a confirmation that there is a problem in Lamu. What I could want to promise, Honorable Speaker, is to give an undertaking that will make arrangements.
Just inform the authorities.
Yeah,
and Honorable Rueda is very fair. She's not saying you are not doing the right thing.
So that's
she's
why
not saying you are doing the wrong thing, but she's saying involve leaders.
Yeah, that's what
which is a very fair request.
I just want to give an undertaking as the chair of the committee that will make arrangements so that we can have the minister or the PS together with the leadership from Lamu so that we can have a round table discussion on the same and find a lasting solution, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Next, Kazim Tandaza. Oh, sorry. We go back to Honorable Bukose, Chairman. Is Mayaka in the house?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 44-2C, Honorable Irene Mayaka requested for a statement from the chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Health regarding the regulations and lack of facilities specialize in the treatment of endometriosis. Honorable Speaker, I want to respond as follows. That the state, in number 1A, state the number of facilities within the country that are specialized in endometriosis treatment, their location, and whether such facilities carry out possible awareness programs on endometriosis. Response. Endometriosis is a disease in which tissue similar to the lining of uterus grows outside the uterus. It is associated with chronic pelvic pain, especially during periods, that is menses. And this pain could also occur during or after sex, heavy menstrual bleeding, and difficulties in conceiving. In Kenya, the prevalence of endometriosis is 4.6%. Diagnosis and treatment of endometriosis is mainly undertaken by gynecologists through laparoscopic visualization and histological confirmation, which are considered the gold standard for diagnostic of endometriosis. The treatment can either be drugs or, in severe complicated cases, laparoscopic surgery. Currently, there are 2 level 6 health facilities, Kenyatta National Hospital and Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, that can be able to treat endometriosis. In terms of awareness of endometriosis, this is a continuous process through periodic continuous medical education forums and health education session talks at health facilities. The ministry plans to do media campaigns nationally and through local FM radios on endometriosis to give correct information about the disease and eliminate stigma around similar conditions of painful menses and demystify the myths. Community health promoters have also been trained to refer women with similar symptoms to higher levels to facilitate early diagnosis and treatment. B, on outline the measures put in place by the Ministry of Health to facilitate public hospitals with specialized training on the treatment of endometriosis to provide better health care to women in the country. The response is as follows. Endometriosis is one of the disease conditions covered in the pre-service training curriculum for nurses, clinical officers, and doctors. Government has invested in the training of gynecologists. Currently in Kenya, we have about 700 gynecologists working in different parts of the country, both in public and private. And we have 5 trained laparoscopic gynecology surgeons, mainly based at national referral hospitals. Equally, the government has invested on the availability of laparoscopic equipment for use by the experts. What are the specific actions being taken by Ministry of Health to tackle the challenges posed by endometriosis and creating public awareness on treatment? The response is as follows, that the ministry plans to establish endometriosis specialized centers of excellence to offer care, train more laparoscopic gynecology surgeons, ensure availability of endometriosis medicines through the Social Health Insurance Fund, avail more laparoscopic equipment, and continuous sensitization of the general public on endometriosis through community health promoters and media. This statement was signed by the Cabinet Secretary for Health. Thank you.
Irene Mayaka, you're satisfied with the answer?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I am not satisfied with the answer, with the response. But before I give my remarks to that, if you will kindly allow me, Honorable Speaker, I would like to give my condolences because on behalf of the African Liberal Network, which is a conglomeration of parties that the ODM party belongs to, and as the Vice President of East Africa, we lost a lady called the Honorable Jolie Mugisha from Uganda, who is the Deputy President of the National Unity Platform Party in Uganda, who is being buried today. And I'd just like to pay my tribute to her because she is one of those ladies who has really supported the growth of women leadership in Uganda and in East Africa. And on my own behalf and on behalf of the ODM party, I'd just like to give my
What has that got to do with the question?
I will.
What has that got to do with the question?
She worked on the endometriosis.
You must be relevant to what is going on in the House.
Honorable Speaker, before I started, I did request because she worked on endometriosis a lot. And so this is very relevant to us because
ask a clarification. If you are satisfied, you give way.
Honorable Speaker, I'm not satisfied with the response. I find it underwhelming for 3 reasons. Number one, the fact that in the statement, the chair tells us that we only have 5 surgeons who actually work on the laparoscopic gynecological surgeons, and yet this is one procedure that is extremely expensive. It costs between 350,000 to 1 million shillings. And to think of the number of women, especially the young women who suffer from this, I think the Ministry of Health can do much more towards this particular disease. And then secondly, part of the response tells us that the ministry is working on training and is working on sensitizing, but there's no specific dates towards that. Working could be in 2 years from now or 3 years from now. When exactly do they want to begin the sensitization process? Because one of the things that the young women really suffer from is from the stigmatization that they get from this particular disease. So we need to have very specific information in terms of when is this sensitization beginning. And then finally also, the fact that we only have 2 public facilities that offer this disease in the whole country. And yet we have so many other private facilities that offer it at a very expensive rate. And as I said earlier, for the young girls who are between the age of 15 and 24 who suffer the most from this, I think we need to do a bit more than what we are being told by the ministry. I therefore think that this is not enough for us. Thank you.
Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kuzungumzia mambo ya endometriosis. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimemsikiza Mheshimiwa akitoa majibu yake, na mimi napenda kuambia mwache Google, kwa sababu huku kuna mtoto tulimpoteza wa kike anaitwa Njoki. Alienda nje kutafuta matibabu kwa sababu Kenya tulikuwa hatuna sehemu ama madaktari ambao wanaweza kumtibu. Kwa hiyo hili ni jambo la dharura ambalo linatesa watoto wetu. Hata mimi wakati wangu nikiwa msichana bado mdogo ilikuwa imenisumbua sana. Na mimi nataka kusema Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati wengine tunadharau hawa kina mama zetu wa kitamaduni wanaouza dawa za kienyeji. Kuna mama ambaye alinitibu wa kienyeji kwa sababu hospitali ilikuwa hakuna matibabu kabisa. Kwa hiyo mimi naomba wale ambao wanahusika na wizara ya health, naomba sana muipigilie upatu, sio mambo ya planning, ni action. Wakati huu tunataka action, watoto wetu wanakufa, sisi kina mama tunasikia vibaya sana. Najua wanaume hamwendi katika hedhi, ni wanawake ndio tunaoenda katika hedhi, na tuna insist leo katika bunge hili muweze kulipigia upatu, tusiweze kupoteza watoto kama vile tulimpoteza Njoki. Mwenyezi Mungu amleze na wema peponi, na yule mama ambaye alipigania mambo haya endometriosis, Mama Joli Mgisha pia, Mwenyezi Mungu amrehemu anapolala kule Uganda leo. Asante sana.
Yes, Kamei. Give Beatrice Kamei the mic. There you are.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to add my voice to this issue that is concerning women, endometriosis. This disease is actually affecting our children, the young women, and I'm trying to look at or to actually listen to what the chairman said, that the ministry is planning. I don't really understand what he means. Because when you say the ministry is planning, it has no timelines. We don't know it is planning when and how. So, Chairman, I think you need to go beyond this. Because now when you talk of ministry plans to do media campaigns, for how long? It has been there. They already know we have this problem. Many girls don't go to school during these times. Many girls are affected seriously. It is affecting their lifestyle. And I think, Chairman, you should go beyond this. Not just the ministry is planning to do campaign, the ministry is planning to do this. I think, and Honorable Speaker, we need to get serious information from the ministry is concerned, and especially this one. We cannot be given things that are not adding up. Thank you, Honorable Chair. And thank you, Speaker. Sorry.
Chairman Bukose, can you tell the House what you mean by planning? That's what you're being asked.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mayaka has indicated that the number of gynecologists, in my statement, since we attained independence, we only have 700 gynecologists in the whole republic. Both in public, no, me I'm a surgeon. Surgeons are even fewer. We have 700 gynecologists, both in private and in public. Out of the 700, 5 have trained in laparoscopic gynecology. I think that is, and those are the ones now, because in laparoscopic, this is where you are able to do minimal incisions, because you know you want to save the beauty of the women and all that. You don't want to do big scars. So you make small incision, put in through there, and you are able to remove those extra endometrial.
Yes, a point of order, Deputy Speaker.
Is that he's saying that there are few people who can do laparoscopic surgeries, gynecology. Yes, I know this for a fact. It's not because of aesthetic reasons. It's because when you do laparoscopic surgery, the recovery time is shorter, and chances of you ending up in ICU or having to deal with a complete open surgery where they make an incision through your entire body, it causes more complications. So correct it, because whenever you talk about women issues, you trivialize it. That because our women want to look beautiful. He's trivializing something that is life-threatening. So please apologize to the women of Kenya now.
Chairman.
I think we are speaking the same thing with the Honorable Deputy Speaker. There is cosmetic role for surgery. When you do, just listen to me, I'm a surgeon.
Yes,
No. You can't teach me surgery.
Yes, Zamzam.
There is cosmetic reasons for any operation.
Chairman, hold on.
Beauty.
Yes, Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka kumwambia mheshimiwa, hii damu ikitoka kwenye uzazi huwa inatambaa inaenda paka kwenye mapafu. Sio hiyo ya beauty ambayo unazungumza ati ya wanawake ya kufanya urembo. Haya ni mambo ambayo ni serious. Uliza mke wako atakwambia hiyo ni kitu gani. Ino damu utoka ikaingia mpaka kwenye mbavu ndo ambayo ilimuua yule msichana. Na inaleta maradhi mengine huko. Kwa hiyo sio mambo sisi tukitaka cosmetic, hata mimi naenda nipunguze huu mwili niwe safi. Lakini hii ni ugonjwa ambao tunahitaji madaktari serious ndani ya hili taifa waweze kumaliza. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Unfortunately, you know, I wouldn't want to go there, but just for record purposes, everything has, you're not listening to, it's not only one reason. One is cosmetic. No woman would want a big scar in her abdomen. Yeah, they wouldn't want a big scar. Two, they wouldn't want complications. I'll not say that. Nobody would want to stay in hospital for that length of time. They would want to stay in hospital for a short period of time. So when you make a small scar...
Chairman, hold on.
Right, Honorable Speaker, is it in order for the Honorable Chairman to say African women don't like scars on their body, while we know very many times, culturally, scars have been portrayed as marks of beauty around waists, faces, and breasts?
Yes, Millie. Millie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, is the Honorable Chair in order to purport to speak with authority over things he knows nothing about. He may be a surgeon, but he does not go through what we go through. So you cannot be an authority on our bodies. For those of us who may have gone through problems like that, cosmetic issues are the last of our interest. All women want at that point, yeah, this one is theoretical. At that point, all we want, Mr. Speaker, is to be well. We are not interested in cosmetics. So don't start with cosmetic. Sorry, Speaker.
Hold, because, yes, Owen Bayer.
Honorable Speaker, you know, this is very interesting. But I also want to say that Honorable Millie Odhiambo and Honorable Zamzam can speak from that perspective which they would like to speak to. But the Honorable Pokose is a renowned surgeon, a doctor, a person who understands the woman's body from a scientific position more than the women who are here. He is more versed to explain about a woman's body better than the women in this house. And therefore, allow the Honorable Pokose to give you what needs to be done. Honorable Speaker, I think we need to balance between politics, between populism, and the real issues that the Honorable Pokose is talking about. Honorable Speaker, protect Honorable Pokose, protect him. I beg you, Honorable Speaker, protect him.
Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. When I speak with authority. A member of my own family had that challenge. I spent hours and hours with doctors. Eventually, I got an 80-year-old doctor who could do laparoscopic surgery. And they explained to us the reason why we needed to do it. And Honorable Pokose, you may be, let me tell you, the patient is the one who knows best. It is not the doctor. Medicine is proximate science. You decide my diagnosis according to what I tell you, not because of what you feel. So it is me who knows how my body feels. It is proximate science. So don't come and lecture us here that the doctor knows. The doctor has to rely. If I tell the doctor my head aches, even though it was my feet, he'll treat my head. So believe me, you're not an authority. It is the women who are authority. And let me quote, Oprah Winfrey once said, keep off my uterus.
Order, Millie, this is not a public rally. Yes, let's now, Zamzam, let's hear Dr. Pokose. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Ngoja Pokose. Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, huyu ni surgeon. Aweza kuwa si gynecologist. Na yeye hana uterus. Yeye haendi kwa hedhi. Mke wake ndio enda kwa hedhi na kuna uwezekano mkubwa kuwa kwa familia yake hajapata matatizo kama haya. Hii kitu daktari ni serious. Watoto kuanzia miaka 13 wanaumwa tumbo, ilikuwa mimi nikiumwa natambaa na wewe unanambia yule mtoto maskini atapata wapi pesa za cosmetic? Tafuteni madaktari wasaidie wa Kenya hapa. Mambo ya kuchangia watu kwenda nje kutafuta matibabu ni makosa. Na tuna waziri ambaye ameingia, waziri wa kike, waziri ngangari. Enda mkae na yeye chini, awape mambo ya uhakika, mlete bungeni. Si mambo ya Google. Hapa ni masuala ya maisha ya wanadamu. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Yes, Millie, hold Pokose.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are not finishing, Honorable Pokose. Mr. Speaker, we just want him to be better educated. Yes. Mr. Speaker, I am bringing what is called the Family Reproductive Health Care Bill, based on my own personal experience on reproductive issues. Mr. Speaker, when I was in the office of the Attorney General, I was admitted, because I used to be admitted every month when I was on my menses. And every month I was told I am aborting. Mr. Speaker. And most women go through that. And when you have a problem like this, at one point, I went to a hospital, one of the renowned hospitals, and they gave me a finding by an expert doctor. And I was walking around in the office giving, because I was a very innocent, naive girl. Then somebody called me and told me, Millie, do you know what you are telling people? That you are having a sexually transmitted infection. I'm not even sexually active, but I'm walking around with a sexually transmitted infection. Mr. Speaker, even women who have not gone through this, even if they are surgeons, are not authorities. I saw a woman gynecologist when I was fainting in the office and I wanted a day off. And she told me, just for periods, you do not know what other women go through when they have periods. So let women who have experience, we are telling you, you may be an expert, but it's theoretical. I am the expert because I've gone through it. So respect my opinion, I am the expert on practicals.
Now give Dr. Pokose an opportunity to answer.
Yes. Unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, we've diverted from laparoscopic gynecology. That is the basis. We were discussing laparoscopic gynecology, not the issue about whether you have endometriosis or do not have endometriosis. I think that's the point. And when we discuss about the gynecology, laparoscopic, when we discuss about laparoscopic gynecology, no, I can't. Yeah. You know, you are a lawyer and I'm a doctor. I'll not be able to dispute your law matters, but allow me to make my statement as a doctor. We were discussing about laparoscopic surgery. And what we said is we have only 5 gynecologists trained in laparoscopic surgery. We do not have enough of them. I did not say, and then the other issue was plan, whether what the ministry is planning to do about educating the public about it. I'm not the ministry. Yeah? And the ministry is saying we are planning to, because endometriosis.
You are the chair of the committee and you are speaking here on authority of the ministry.
I withdraw that. On the issue about the plan for the ministry, you know, endometriosis issues started arising when we lost, there was a lady from the media whom we lost, and she comes from my county, Kitale. Yeah? So it started, you know, it started being highlighted about, because many of our ladies have been suffering from endometriosis, some of them quietly, some of them unknowingly. And therefore, this is something that has now been sensitized. And the ministry feels that we must be able to separate the myths from the truth, the facts, and be able to refer people to the right facilities where they can receive now treatment. And in the statement which I read, the only facilities, government facilities, where we have equipment, that is, we have laparoscopic equipment, is the Moi Teaching Referral Hospital and Kenyatta National Hospital. And that is where, those are the 2 facilities. And I think what the House needs to be debating is, can we be able to equip the other facilities, maybe in each of the counties, and train more of the 700 gynecologists we have, so that they can be able to offer facilities in the other hospitals. And I think that is the onus on this House to make that decision. Give us budget, and we'll be able to buy them equipment, laparoscopic equipment, and even have 1 gynecologist or 2 per every county who are trained in laparoscopic surgery.
Thank you.
I think let's stick to laparoscopic surgery, not the sideshows.
Honorable Bukose. Order, Honorable Bukose, I heard you chide at my deputy as a lawyer. Are you aware that when you, as a surgeon, misconduct yourself in the course of your duty, you run to a lawyer to defend you?
Honorable Speaker, I'm aware of that.
Yes.
That I can also seek lawyer services, just the same way when a lawyer becomes sick, he has to come to the hospital for treatment.
It is a symbiotic relationship. Transport and infrastructure. GK, do you have a response to Honorable Kazim Tandaza? Is Tandaza in the House?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. He is in the House.
I'm just next to him.
Okay. Do you have the response?
Yes, I do have.
Oh, you have quietly given to him?
No, we were just consulting.
Go ahead,
Speaker.
go ahead.
He's my friend. Honorable Speaker, I rise to give a statement which was requested for by Honorable Tandaza, Member of Parliament for Matuga, on 8th August 2024, requesting to get more information about compensation of residents of Dongo Kundu bypass, or those who are affected by that project. Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Tandaza requested for the following. A comprehensive report on the number of persons whose land was acquired for construction of the bypass the number already compensated and the status of the compensation of the remaining beneficiaries, and B, reasons for the delay and the timelines for remittance of the remaining beneficiaries, noting that the road is already in use. Honorable Speaker, the committee received a written response from the Ministry of Roads and Transport on 8th September 2024, which I now wish to make. One, regarding the number of persons whose land was acquired for construction of the bypass, the number already compensated and the status of compensation of the remaining beneficiaries, the ministry submitted that the project is located in 3 counties, that is Kilifi, Mombasa, and Kwale. And the implementation is in phases or packages as follows. Package 1, Miritini Junction, Mwache Junction in Kipevu section. That's about 10.3 kilometers. And B, Package 2, Mwache Junction, Sunza, and Teza section, which is about 8.9 kilometers. And C, Package 3, which is Muteza Kibudani section, which is about 6.8 kilometers. 2, in regards to the status of land compensation, the NLC submitted the compensation schedule for the project affected persons, that's PAPs, to the Kenya National Highway Authority, KENHA, as follows. A, MPAD package 1 amounting to about 2.5 billion. B, MPAD package 2 amounting to about 271 million. C, MPAD package 3 amounting to Kenya shillings 537 million. And 3, regarding the status of disbursement of disbursements to date, the following has accrued. The following has occurred, Honorable Speaker. A, the amount disbursed to NLC for MPAD package 1 is Kenya shillings 2.0 or about 2.1 billion. And the amount yet to be disbursed is about Kenya shillings 440 million or 441 million. B, the amount disbursed to NLC for MPAD package 2 is Kenya shillings 215 million. And the amount yet to be disbursed for that package is about 56 million. C, the amount disbursed to NLC for MPAD package 3 is Kenya shillings 473.4 million. And the amount yet to be disbursed for that package is about Kenya shillings 39.6 million. Honorable Speaker, regarding the reasons for the delay and the timelines for remittance of the remaining beneficiaries, noting that the road is already in use, is attributed to that budgetary constraints being faced by KENHA. To mitigate this problem, KENHA has included the remaining compensation amounts in the financial year 24-25 supplementary 2 budget proposal. Number 5, additionally, family dispute succession from deceased PAPs to new beneficiaries, lack of documentation and subdivision of parcels of land after gazettement are some of the other reasons for delays in compensation of the remaining PAPs. 6, and last, the ministry undertakes to ensure that project-affected persons are compensated upon approval of the budget and subsequent release of funds from Exchequer. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I submit.
Thank you, GK. Tandaza, satisfactory?
Not at all, Chairman. Not at all, Honorable Speaker. This is a matter that has been here severally since 2022. We are dealing with persons affected, awarded letters in 2013. The answer has always been the same generally. And here we are even. I attached a list of specific persons. Maybe I take time to read because they totally complied with the kind of disputes that he's talking about, the chairman referred to, subdivisions that is referred to. And these are people who are 100% compliant. 9 persons affected by this compensation issue. 1, Abdallah Mwakunena. 2, Salim Hamisi Bongo. 3, Halima Omar Higa. 5, Saidi Nasoro Mwakubwabwa. 6, Fatuma Ali Mwakunena. 8, Masudi Muhammad Mwatsonowe. And 9, Salim Kazungu Ndundi. The money that they are supposed to be paid, Honorable Speaker, is not the money that the chairman is referring to. This is money already with the NLC, and probably the chairman transport is not aware that even after they disburse money to NLC, NLC normally does not pay the persons affected in time for reasons better known to themselves. So, Honorable Speaker, my request on this matter is not about the supplementary tool that the chairman is referring to. The money is already there. They have disbursed the money, but NLC is not willing, for some reason which known to themselves, to compensate these people. And I would then request your indulgence to see how the Committee on Transport and the Committee on Lands can actually compel NLC to pay these particular people who are 100% compliant, Honorable Speaker. So I'm not satisfied at all with the answer that he has given because it's not the reality on the ground.
GK.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you, Honorable.
Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi nimemsikiza chairman na nataka nikujulishe kuwa vile Mheshimiwa Tandaza anavyosema, watu wetu hata ile fidia ambao wamepewa wengine bado hawajapata na wengine wamepata ndivyo sivyo Mheshimiwa Spika. Na la kusikitisha hata zaidi Mheshimiwa Spika, ile 3000 acres tayari wamesha gawa watu ambao sisi hata wabunge wa Mombasa tukiandika
Mwashako Undanyi, Farah Sala Fafi, and Ariko Namoit were discussed between the committee, the ministry, and the questioners, and that the honorable members were satisfied with the outcome. So we'll rest those there. And I invite the Chair Health to respond to a question by Irene Mayaka, nominated MP, on lack of facilities specializing in treatment of endometriosis. Yes, Tongoyo? I thought that's what you told me.
Being, of course, these are documents of the House, I table with the clerks.
Those who raised questions can look at them. Yes, Oundo?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. During the same session, Honorable Speaker, I represented Honorable David Ocheng in respect of a question about abduction, and the question was insufficiently answered, and the Cabinet Secretary promised to furnish additional information. So I thought the chair will be kind enough to inform the House that the question was not adequately answered. More information is required so that we can pull the matter to closure. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Tongoyo, when can you bring additional information, either to the House or directly to the member?
I think I could follow the same suit because the only bit that was remaining was the minister to furnish the updated number of deaths, and that is why I have not included with what I had submitted with the clerks. And he had promised to do within 48 hours. So it will be available on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Thank you. Chair Health.
If I could just have 2 minutes, my document is at the reception.
Okay. Go and collect. Let's go to the next response by the Chair Lands to a question by Honorable Monica Marubu, MP, Lamu County. Is Monica Marubu in the house? Pardon? Provider, you can...
Yeah, I can do it for her.
Okay, Chairman, you ready?
I'm ready, yes.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 44, the Honorable Monica Marubu, MP, requested the Chairperson of Departmental Committee on Lands to provide a response on the implementation of Hindi Magogoni Phase 2 Settlement Scheme on the following. Number one, explanation as to why it has taken long for the team at the Ministry of Lands to conclude the operationalization of Magogoni Settlement Scheme, considering that the officers were funded to the tune of 18 million by the county government of Lamu. Number two, the timelines within which the title deeds to legitimate beneficiaries of Hindi Settlement Scheme will be issued. And number three, a list of the original beneficiaries of the 19,019 acres of land in phase 1 of the Hindi Magogoni Settlement Scheme. Honorable Speaker, here is my response. Honorable Speaker, the land being referred to measures approximately 16,000 acres. It was reserved on 13th January 1997 for the settlement of squatters at Hindi Magogoni Settlement Scheme, phase 1 and phase 2. It was to be managed by the Settlement Fund Trustees, SFT, now referred to as Land Settlement Fund Board of Trustees. In 2013, Honorable Speaker, the ministry developed a plan for 4-acre farm plots. The county government of Lamu did not concur with the plan by the ministry and instead proposed a 1/4 to 1 acre mixed-use plots. Subsequently, Mr. Speaker, consultations held between the county government and the ministry led to the harmonization of the two plans while taking cognizance of the expanded 500-meter wide lapset corridor and the land uses. The harmonized plan provided for 2-acre plots which were approved by the ministry. Honorable Speaker, in 2019, the ministry and the county government of Lamu began profiling of the squatters. However, the exercise experienced a number of challenges, including, number one, several people having fenced off huge chunks of land. Number two, we also had a problem of massive invasion by both local and non-locals. Challenge number three, Mr. Speaker, some squatters presented multiple identity cards for absentee landlords. Number four, political interference from some leaders by excluding those perceived to be from outside the area. Number six, county government plans to establish an urban centers in order to collect revenue. And then number seven, rampant insecurity in the area. Honorable Speaker, in 2022, following the August general election, a new county administration came into office. Following this new development, the ministry undertook to carry out further consultations with various stakeholders with a view of finding a lasting solution. So far, several stakeholders meetings have been conducted to build consensus on the settlement program. A number of solutions have been agreed upon as follows. Number one, the State Department for Livestock to cede claim of 2,047 hectares, which is approximately 5,000 and 60 acres from the scheme. Number 2, LAPSET teams to sensitize beneficiaries and public on the different land uses and zoning along the corridors. Number 3, beneficiaries of the land to be identified after the survey.
Order, Honorable Soro is against the standing orders to stand between the member on the floor and the speaker.
Number 4, thank you, Honorable Speaker, the Boni community to be considered in the scheme alongside others. Number 5, Honorable Speaker, public participation, barasas be conducted and ground committees be elected. And number 6, Honorable Speaker, the Lamu County Security Team to secure project area to guard against invasion. Honorable Speaker, the issue at hand is quite emotive and requires extensive consultations between the Ministry, the County Government of Lamu, Ministry of Interior, National Administration, political leaders, and the local leaders to build consensus on the way forward. The Ministry will spearhead these consultations in the current financial year, 2024-2025. Once consensus is built, the Ministry will commence the process of surveying, demarcation, and titling. Therefore, it's not possible to give realistic timelines for issuance of the titles in the scheme. I submit on
is a need to install a 20-meter span bridge to offer a long-term solution to this matter. 2, the bridge is estimated to cost Kenya shillings 94 million and is beyond the scope of the existing contract or any possible variation to the same. 3, regarding the measures put in place to have temporary crossing solutions, particularly to facilitate students' access to schools in the area, the Ministry submitted that they are aware that the closure and cordoning off of the affected road section, which was done in the interest of public safety, has inconvenienced residents and is sympathetic to their plight. 4, it is, however, noteworthy that there is no corridor available for a diversion in the immediate location, and therefore advises residents to use alternative routes, namely the northern bypass and the Nairobi-Thika superhighway, as efforts are made to source funds for the construction of a bridge, as earlier mentioned. Honorable Speaker, regarding the reasons for the inordinate delay in the rebuilding of the bridge and the steps being taken to expedite the construction to avert further sufferings, the Ministry submitted that the delay in the construction of the bridge has been occasioned by the unavailability of funds for the same. 6, the Ministry wishes to request Parliament to consider providing budgetary allocation for this bridge alongside other crucial areas similarly affected by the flooding that impacted most parts of the country earlier this year. The Ministry undertakes to construct the bridge as soon as funds are made available. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
Thank you, Honorable Kingara. Are you satisfied?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for according me this opportunity to respond and as per the statement from the chairperson for roads. Mr. Speaker, I'm comfortable with the first paragraph whereby they went in at a good speed and came up with an estimate. But, Mr. Speaker, may I open it this way? They have given us an alternative route to use as they work on the bridge. But unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, where they are sending us is northern bypass and then the Thika superhighway, which are so clogged in the morning and in the evening. And note, Mr. Speaker, my concern was because most schools are on the other side of the road or of the bridge. So it will be very difficult for pupils and students to accommodate their day-to-day activities noting that the Thika Superhighway in the morning and the northern bypass, including the eastern bypass, are clogged for more than 3 hours. So, Mr. Speaker, my request is if they can use the emergency fund, because noting also, Mr. Speaker, the said bridge is the only conduit for 3 wards, and this is Biashara Ward, Gatongora Ward, and Getodua Ward. So you can see, Mr. Speaker, the 3 wards are already locked, and I wish that maybe they use emergency fund if they were to facilitate us rather than frustrating us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, GK.
Honorable Speaker, I sympathize with the situation that the people of Roido constituency in that part of Honorable Kingara's constituency are facing. And we have asked the ministry to prioritize that project and avail any funds that are within their reach to be able to address that challenge. Honorable Kingara's constituency is one of the most populous constituencies in the country, if not the most populous, and we will push the ministry officials to ensure that that bridge is reconstructed. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Majority Leader, your Thursday statement. Osoro, are you issuing on behalf of the Leader?
Yes, Honorable Speaker.
Go ahead.
I'm holding brief for the Majority Leader for the usual Thursday statement. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order number 42-2A, I rise to give the following statement on behalf of the House Business Committee, which met on Tuesday, 24th September 2024, to prioritize business for consideration during the week. Honorable Speaker, with regard to the business for Tuesday next week, the House is expected to consider the following bills, if not concluded today. Committee of the whole House is on consideration of safety and feed safety control coordination bill 2023, and consideration of Senate amendment to the statutory instruments amendment bill of 2023. The Honorable Speaker will be having the second reading of the following bills, if they will not be concluded today: the Technopolis bill of 2024, the Kenya National Library Service Bill 2023, and the Equalization Fund Administration Bill, which is Senate Bill number 14 of 2023. Additionally, Honorable Speaker, debate will also be undertaken on the following motions, should they not be concluded today. 1, consideration of the Senate amendment to the Food and Safety and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill of 2023, consideration of Senate amendments to the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill of 2023, 3, first report on the implementation status of the House resolutions on the committee reports and public petitions, report on the alleged unfair trade practices by foreign investors in Kenya, second report on employment diversity audit in public institutions, report of the extraordinary session of the 6th Pan-African Parliament, that is PAP, consideration of reports on financial statements of state corporations of the Nyanza region, Honorable Speaker, and finally, the consideration of session of paper number 5 of 2023 on the national policy on labor migration. Honorable Speaker, in accordance with the provisions of the Standing Order number 42A5 and 6, I wish to convey that the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Climate Change and Forestry is scheduled to appear before the House on the afternoon of Wednesday, 2nd October 2024, to respond to the following questions. 1, question number 3 or 4 of 2023, by the member for Alego Usonga, the Honorable Samuel Atandi, regarding issuance of alliances for construction of residential property on plot number LR number 33734, stroke 338 along Othaya Road, Kileleshwa, by the National Environment and Management Authority without public participation. Question number 02924, by the member for Maragua, the Honorable Wamaua, regarding report on the COH, commonly known as Mandazi, regarding the presence of Lalela Company Limited and Naraitoi Company Limited that are engaging in large-scale irrigation-based farming along Amalo River and cloud seeding activities. Honorable Speaker, the Minister will also be answering question number 106 to 2024 by the member for Westlands, the Honorable Timothy Wanyonyi, regarding the measures put in place to reclaim, safeguard, and sustain all riparian areas and vulnerable ecosystems within the country. Further, the Cabinet Secretary will also be responding to question number 107 of 2024 by the member for Nakuru County, the Honorable Liza Chelule, regarding the preservation of wetlands and catchment areas within the country and the government's plan in conjunction with Community Forest Association nationwide to plant 15 billion trees within the next decade. Question number 129 of 2024 by the member for Ruaraka, the Honorable T.J. Kajwang, regarding the Nairobi River pollution and the reasons for continued contamination despite interventions made over the years by various institutions. Honorable Speaker, the Minister will also be answering question number 130 of 2024 by the member for Tigania West, the Honorable Dr. John Mutunga, regarding key actors and benefits gained through climate financing to fight issues arising from climate change. In conclusion, Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee will be reconvening on Tuesday, 1st October 2024 to schedule business for the rest of that week. I now wish to lay this statement on the table of the House. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Chief Whip of the Majority Party. Honorable members, before we call the next order, we acknowledge in the public gallery Nkubu Winners Academy from Imendi South, Meru. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, we welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Next order.
Order number 8, motion, ratification of the protocol to the constitutive acts of the African Union relating to the Pan-African Parliament. Resumption of debate.
I understand this debate has some time to go. Who was on the floor? Yeah? Okay, there is nobody who was on the floor at the rise of the House. I have on the screen Rindikiri Mugambi. Are you for this? No. Dido Raso, are you for this?
Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I wish to contribute to this particular motion and why it is necessary for Kenya to sign this very important protocol that binds all African states and Kenya and others in particular. Honorable Speaker, the first OAU Charter was signed on 25th May 1963 in the city of Addis Ababa in the Federal Republic of Ethiopia. That was the formative charter that brought the African countries together, and it was also the stage and platform on and from where they started fighting for both emancipation and independence of the African countries, many of whom at that time were under colonialism. Honorable Speaker, on the 11th of July 2000, in Lome, Togo, is when the African Constitutive Act, which I believe is the current African Union Charter or the African Union Constitution, was signed by 53 African countries. This had been preceded by the fourth extraordinary session of the Africa Union that took place on 9th of September 1999 in the city of Sirte in Libya. Honorable Speaker, the reason why I'm going through those dates is to lay the ground for why this constitutive act is a very important document or charter for we the legislators or the leaders of this country to understand, and also for it to form part of the Kenyan legal instrument as an African country. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the African Union, the Organization of Africa Union Charter at the beginning, it was largely addressing the issues of cooperation between Africans, about fighting for decolonization of territories that still were under the colonial rule, and also emancipation of the Africans wherever they were. But if you look at what is in the Constitutive Act, it addresses the important issues of our time, the issues of economic and social cooperation, the issues of human rights and the rule of law, governance. A strong Africa that looks at partnership between its people, its neighbors, and also the rights of groups that are marginalized within the countries, women and youth. The role of civil society as among the objectives that are being pronounced in the African Union Constitutive Act. Honorable Speaker, in this particular instrument that I said is like the Africa Union Constitution, it talks more about peace and security. Africa has been bedeviled by the scourge of conflict for a very long time. Today, the African Union has a Peace and Security Commission that sits exactly like what happens in the Security Council to address issues of conflict on this continent. When you look at the old charter of OAU, it says non-interference in the internal affairs of African states. So that means that whatever happens within an African state, the OAU was mute. But what this Constitutive Act actually does or says is that the Africa Union Commission, where actually we are bidding for the chairmanship of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, is more stronger today than what it was under OAU. Today, the Commission has so many directorates under it: economic, social, educational, human rights division, that is able to address the issues of Africa. Madam Speaker, the other important things that you find in this Constitutive Act is the issue that has to do with democracy, good governance, and public participation. Madam Speaker, before now, the African Union was not able to clearly talk about election in a member state. Kenya holds its election, it goes whatever direction, maybe there is post-election violence. African Union was quiet about it. But under the Constitutive Act, they are concerned that the issues that happen in Kenya, if they are not good, then they have a ripple effect over the neighboring countries. So that is why African Union takes cognizance of it. Madam Speaker, among other important things that this Constitutive Act addresses is the issue of inter-African infrastructure. Vision Agenda 2063, African Free Trade Agreement. With this, you can see that there's more partnership, there's more engagement within the African Union. Madam Speaker, through the Constitutive Act, the structure or organization of the African Union is more pronounced. Whereas it used to just have a very rudimentary structure of about 4 or 5. With this, you have the executive, the Pan-African Parliament, the Court of Justice, specialized technical committees, the permanent representative committees, Economic, Social, and Cultural Council. So all this is encompassing that they want to address the issue of the African continent and its people holistically. So for those many remarks, Madam Speaker, I support and ask my colleagues to support so that this particular instrument becomes an instrument within the laws of the land. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Buri, Honorable Mugambi. I can see your name is at the top. Oh, you don't want to speak to this?
On the second.
Okay. The Honorable Moses Kirima, Member for Central Elementi.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me this opportunity, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute on the said motion of the protocol. Madam Speaker, it's necessary for Kenya to be part of the world countries when it comes to the rules which govern the protocols of various countries. The matter before the National Assembly today was ventilated very well by the committee concerned. It passed through all the processes which were required, and it was seen after so searching and looking at all various articles in the same that in no way is it going to affect the country in form of taxpayers' money, in form of interfering with current internal rules of the country, and it's going at the end of the day to be adopted and become part of the municipal law which govern this country and the countries involved in signing of the same protocol. As for that, it's a necessity, taking into account that the world per se is becoming a village. It's like a village these days. It's a global village, whereby each country requires each other when it comes to economic growth, export of labor, import of goods, and all other things which pertains to the same protocol. We cannot live alone. The country requires to be part and a parcel of those countries which share the same ideas and ideals and also same sentiments. And as for that, the protocol is necessary for this country, for it to prosper better and a little bit further than where we are, and also to be appreciated in those countries which are part of this protocol. And as for that, I therefore support the motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, the Honorable Member for Wundanyi, Honorable Mwashoka. Mwashoko, is he here? Okay, those who want to contribute to this debate, kindly put the intervention button. The Honorable Member for Tharaka Nithi, Honorable Murugara.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, allow me also to support this motion so that we are able to ratify the protocol to the Constitutive Act of the African Union relating to the Pan-African Parliament. It is important for the House to keep on noting every time we have such protocols that it's a requirement of our Constitution that once our country, Kenya, becomes a signatory to a protocol, international protocol, then that protocol ought to be brought to the House so that it is ratified to become binding on the country. After ratification, the protocol becomes part and parcel of our domestic laws. Therefore, we are bound. This is also pursuant to the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, which is Chapter 4D of the laws of the country. So upon approval or ratification of this protocol, Kenya is going to be part and parcel of the Act of the African Union, which is going to constitute the Pan-African Parliament. It's also important to observe that we are part and parcel of the Pan-African Parliament, and we have that chapter in this House which deals with the Pan-African affairs. It's also important to note that we have been a member of the African Union since inception of the country in 1963 when we became independent. And we have steadfastly stood with the African Union. In fact, in the early 80s, the late President Moi was the chairperson or the chairman of the African Union, as he used to be called. And we were very proud of that event during that epoch. Today, as we speak, we are presenting a formidable candidate for the chairmanship of the African Union Commission. And that is no other than the indefatigable Right Honorable former Prime Minister, Raila Amolo Odinga. And we wish him very well. He has the full backing of the country. I think we have gone out of our way to ensure that all the friendly countries that support Kenya actually support his candidature. And we are just waiting to see how the voting would go, but we are almost certain that he's going to be elected as the chairperson. So this is very important because we are going to strengthen the Pan-African Parliament through this act, which does constitute it. We will also be able to be part and parcel of Pan-Africanism in Africa. It goes without gainsaying that our founding fathers of the African continent those days played a pivotal role in ensuring that Pan-Africanism spread. All the time we mention this, the late Kwame Nkrumah comes into play, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, we had Jomo Kenyatta in Kenya, we had Sedasego in Senegal, and everywhere else. These were Pan-Africanists who stood for the African unity. And today, we should actually be edging towards the union of the African continent so that we stop seeing ourselves just not as regional blocks, the East African Community, the South African Development Commission, the North African Bloc, and whichever. We see ourselves as one continent transiting to an African state, where possibly we are going to have the African currency, amongst many other trading issues that we should bring together and speak in one voice. So this is a very important act to be executed by the African Union relating to the Pan-African Parliament, and as Kenyans, we should actually embrace this 100%. So as we wish the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga the very best for the chairmanship of the African Union, we confirm today we do support this ratification, which also goes towards showing that we are together with the African Union in issues relating to Pan-Africanism. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I support.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Suba North, Honourable Millie Odhiambo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And Madam Speaker, I want to say from the onset that I support this motion. And Madam Speaker, I served in the Pan-African Parliament in the 12th Parliament. And Madam Speaker, one of the reasons that I support this protocol is that it addresses some of the reasons for which I was not very keen to go back to Pan-African Parliament. But with this protocol, I'm really happy that they have actually addressed some of those issues. The Pan-African Parliament was a parliament with a lot of potential. It still has. But because it didn't have any teeth, it didn't have legislative capacity, then it meant that we were basically meeting almost like a conference where we make resolutions and nothing comes out of it. But now that it is being given a legislative mandate, it will give it teeth. Madam Speaker, under Article 3, it provides for the objectives of the Pan-African Parliament, which includes giving a voice to the African peoples and the diaspora. It also seeks to promote the principles of human and people's rights and democracy in Africa. It encourages good governance, respect for the rule of law, transparency and accountability in member states. It promotes peace, security, and stability in Africa. It seeks to strengthen continental solidarity, cooperation, and development, and build a sense of common destiny. Madam Speaker, the only issue that I'm noticing, even though it talks about ensuring that the languages that shall be spoken are the languages of the African Union, I would want to encourage especially our own government to consider not only making sign language a language as we had said earlier today, but also to ensure that every school is taught right from primary French. And Madam Speaker, this is so that it actually enhances integration and Pan-Africanism, because you find that sometimes you are much closer to countries that are far away from us because of the issue of the language barrier. Madam Speaker, I'm happy under Article 4, it provides that at least 2 members of the 5 members that will be sent by countries shall be women. Madam Speaker, I'm happy that the treaty now looks at the constitutive architecture and also mandate. I've spoken to the mandate, but even in terms of a constitutive architecture, the parliament as currently constituted includes members who are members of our own parliaments. Like I was serving as a member of parliament when I was also a member of the Kenyan parliament. But now it will be constituted more like the East African Parliament, where members of parliament will not be members of existing parliament. Madam Speaker, they will be elected direct, even though they will be serving in their, voting in their individual capacities. I want to thank the chair of JILAC, especially for making a connection of the important role of this, and the hopeful election of our party leader, Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, to the AU chairmanship, because this is one of the organs of the AU. And we are hoping once he takes on the leadership, then he will revamp. And that is why it is good that this should go ahead of that. Madam Speaker, one of the things that I also like is that it has also provided for rotation of leadership and in the Bureau. This is one of the thorny issues, Madam Speaker, that has bedeviled this parliament. And I think there was a period for almost 1 year in the current Pan-African Parliament that they couldn't move on because of the issue of rotation. because it was more in terms of a gentleman's agreement that they had agreed that they could move because based on, there would be rotation in South, like it was supposed to go to Southern Africa, and then there is a problem that now the Central African region wanted it and all that. It actually caused it not to function. Madam Speaker, if you have a situation where you have rotational leadership, then it would actually augur very well. Perhaps that is food for thought for us as a country, that if we want to think about dealing with the issues that bedevil us as a country every 5 years, maybe we could think about dividing the country into bigger regions and thinking about presidency in a rotational manner. Then we wouldn't be having the theatrics that we are seeing even right now because of the issues that some people feel like if we are not here now, we may have to wait another lifetime before we get into the presidency. It's something that we may need to think about seriously as a country. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, I do support.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Marakwet West, Honourable Timothy Toroitich.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for granting me an opportunity to contribute on this very important report. Honourable Speaker, I rise to support this report on the consideration for ratification of the protocol to the Constitutive Act of the African Union relating to the Pan-African Parliament. Honourable Speaker, in this country we have an extremely progressive constitution. Under Article 26 of the Constitution, it provides in very clear terms that any treaty ratified by Parliament or by Kenya shall constitute part of the laws of this country. Honourable Speaker, Pan-African Parliament is a very important parliament in enhancing democracy within the African continent. Honourable Speaker, as a continent, we share a similar history, we share a similar culture. It is only that after the Berlin Conference of 1885 that this continent was divided and taken over by various colonial regimes, and that is where we lost our identity, we lost our culture as an African continent. Honourable Speaker, it is time now that as a country, we ratify this protocol so that we can go back and find our paths where we lost. Honourable Speaker, this parliament is very important because it's like a peer review in terms of our democracy, in matters to do with human rights, where countries will have representatives at the highest level in the African continent where they can share certain values that are admired across the African continent. Honourable Speaker, I have seen the report. The only issue I have with this report, Honourable Speaker, is looking critically at the report. It says that under pursuant to Article 118(1)(b) of the Constitution on public participation and Section A3 of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act 2012, the committee placed advertisements in 2 local dailies on 16 November 2023 calling for submissions of memoranda on the subject matter. However, Honourable Speaker, it goes further to say the committee did not receive any memorandum for or against the ratification of the protocol. Honourable Speaker, that is quite unfortunate because something must be wrong. It's either the committee did not give out proper notice for public participation, because it cannot be true that no one in the Republic of Kenya or even managed to give an opinion on this protocol. Honourable Speaker, it is something that can even be quashed by the courts. It's something that we must, the committee and this House needs to take it seriously, because there was no input from the public as per the report of this committee. Honourable Speaker,
Honourable Odhiambo, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Speaker. With due respect to the honourable member, I sit in the Committee of Defence, and indeed the Committee of Defence gave a public notice for public participation. But Madam Speaker, sometimes people don't give their views, because many people don't know what Pan-African Parliament does. And that's why this Constitutive Act is good, because then it will make it easier for people to even know what Pan-African Parliament does. But the Defense Committee, it is wrong because, again, for the reason that it says that it may be taken to court, and if you have it on record, that we are the ones questioning whether we actually did that, and the Committee of Defense did do that. I sit there and I know that.
Okay, you may proceed,
Honourable Speaker, whereas I respect the opinion by the senior counsel, it is on record that no memoranda was submitted to the committee. Give and take, it's okay, but that is an issue of concern. That
Honourable Toroitich, I think you're casting aspersions on the House of Parliament, and you have clearly been informed by a member of this committee that there was the advertisements duly done, but there were no responses. You cannot force members of the public to give memorandum. The most important thing is to show that you gave them an opportunity to be able to give their memorandums. You are also free as a member of Parliament to even give your memorandum yourself. So I think you better withdraw that remark, because you're accusing the committee, yet you have received information from the committee.
Honourable Speaker,
please withdraw that.
I substitute it with the words that I have read the report, that despite notice being given on the record, the report on record is clear that no report was received from the public. Honourable Speaker, as I proceed, I have in the report the benefits that Kenya stands to enjoy by ratifying. Honourable Speaker, there are several benefits that will accrue out of ratifying this protocol. Honourable Speaker, one, as a country, we are demonstrating our commitment to democratic values and principles of inclusivity, including citizen participation. Honourable Speaker, as I've said, we have a lot as a country, we have a lot as a continent that we can learn from each other. Honourable Speaker, Kenya is a progressive democracy. If you compare Kenya with other African countries in terms of how we uphold our democracy, I think, Honourable Speaker, it is a country that is admired, and these are values that we can export to other African countries when we ratify this protocol to establish legally the Pan-African Parliament. Honourable Speaker, also in matters, broader objectives, in matters to do with African integration and unity. Honourable Speaker, we have various, for example, the East African community, where we have issues to do with integration. Honourable Speaker, I think this Parliament, when we constitute it fully and we ratify this protocol, as a country, we can be able to advance our economic values and matters to do with African integration in this Parliament. Honourable Speaker, also, the protocol would give Kenyan parliamentarians a voice of influence in shaping continental policies and initiatives. Honourable Speaker, as I've said, we have a progressive constitution which has been subject to interpretation by the courts. We have set precedents in this country through our judiciary. Honourable Speaker, these are values that other countries can learn from us. Honourable Speaker, I support this particular ratification in totality, only that in future, we need more participation in terms of involving Parliament. Honourable Speaker, there needs to be an amendment to this protocol we call the Treaty Making and Ratification Act number 45 of 2012. If you read section 9 of that particular act, it says Parliament may approve a particular protocol with reservations or without reservations. Honourable Speaker, I want to challenge the committee to be able to table this protocol before the House before it is brought for ratification, so that we can be able, as members of Parliament, we can engage and peruse this protocol before it is brought before this House, pursuant to section 9
of the Treaty Making and Ratification Act of 2012, so that, Honorable Speaker, I have no problem if the Senior Counsel wants to inform me.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, I just wish to understand you, but I just wish to inform you that the reason I actually moved the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, and without the Treaty Making and Ratification Act, you would not be debating. So the bill itself actually enables Parliament to debate the treaties. So, and the way treaties are made or negotiated, we can only make reservations. We can't amend. I think I'm saying that because I've had other members saying that before. If you understand from international law, we cannot amend treaties, not in a parliament. You can only make reservations. You can't amend. Thank you.
The Honorable Chairperson for the committee, Honorable Koech.
Honorable Millie Odhiambo has done very well, but I also wanted to say, and that is why we are here, this is not been passed yet. It has given you an opportunity to deliberate on it, and Parliament still has an opportunity to even reject it at this point if they deem unfit to ratify this proposal. So it's still the property of Parliament. Public participation, also, just to inform my colleague, is to allow you as members of Parliament to contribute. And another thing that I raised yesterday, if you remember, Honorable Speaker, is that many members of Parliament, particularly this Parliament, I'm sorry to say that, do not even understand how Pan-African Parliament do operate. And even to those who actually are in Pan-African Parliament, that is why they're not here, they're not even contributing, because many people have never understood how Pan-African Parliament operates.
Thank you, honorable members. I think at this juncture, I would like to recognize the presence of the following schools. Seated in the Speaker's Gallery is Molo Highway Secondary School from Molo constituency, Nakuru County. And then seated in the public gallery is Pamela Scott Leldet Secondary School, Rongai constituency, Nakuru County. We also have Kilo Primary School, Kajiado East constituency, Kajiado County. And I will give the honorable member for Molo, Honorable Kimani Kuria, to welcome all the three schools on behalf of the National Assembly.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would really like to extend an invitation to the National Assembly, the great students of Molo Highway Secondary School, Rongai, and the Kajiado West constituency schools to the National Assembly to observe the proceedings of this school. Honorable Speaker, if you'd allow me, Molo Highway Secondary School is one of the fastest growing schools in the constituency. Just 5 years into after doing their first KCSE, we had very excellent results for the last KCSE, having one student get a B+, 5 get a C+, 3 get a B, and 1 get a B-, sending to university, and 1 to the seminary, 10 students passing, making it to university. And this is a day school, Honorable Speaker. I went to the school to launch for the Thanksgiving last Friday, and I promised them that we'll come and observe the process of Parliament. Because, Honorable Speaker, I am a product of a day secondary school, a mixed day secondary school. And I see brilliant students like this. I am sure that you have the next biggest leaders in this country, the best engineers, the best doctors, and the best lawyers. And also, Honorable Speaker, this shows the importance of National Government Constitutional Development Fund. When I became a member of Parliament, this school had only one Mabati classroom. And you go to that school now, they have story buildings, they have labs, and that is what has helped them to have as infrastructure almost as good as those that in the schools that NGCDFS, the schools like the one Honorable Millie Odhiambo went to, and therefore getting to post such excellent results. So congratulations, Molo Highway. We look forward to even better results this year, and welcome to Parliament. And if I may, Honorable Speaker, continue with my contribution on the ratification. Go ahead. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support the ratification of the Constitutive Act of the African Union relating to the African Parliament, the PAP, Honorable Speaker. This ratification refers to the formal process in which member states of Pan-African Parliament approve and adopt the legal framework established in the establishment of the Pan-African Parliament. Honorable Speaker, the Pan-African Parliament is one of the organs of the African Union that is aimed at promoting peace, unity, democracy, good governance, human rights, and economic development. The protocol, Honorable Speaker, is properly constituted within the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya. The protocol will advance, Honorable Speaker, the participation of African people in matters of governance. It will uphold democratic principles, protect human rights, and promote good governance across the African continent by joining the voice and listening to the voice of the African people and those of the African people in the diaspora. Honorable Speaker, Kenya stands to enjoy a plethora of benefits through the ratification of this protocol, which will include, among the following, Honorable Speaker, the demonstration of Kenya's commitment to democracy and the principle of achieving inclusivity and active citizen participation. Honorable Speaker, this ratification will make Kenya be able to contribute to the broader objectives of African integration, legislation, and forging of unity, Honorable Speaker. The protocol, Honorable Speaker, will also give Kenyan Parliament a voice and an influence in shaping the continental policies and initiatives. And number 4, Honorable Speaker, this active participation on the Pan-African Parliament would raise the Kenyan voice profile in the AU and also in the continental stage, Honorable Speaker. On this, it's a great privilege that you have one gentleman, the name of Honorable Raila Odinga, whom Kenya has fronted to be the chairperson of African Union. And you're hoping that this will be a successful bid for Kenya, that Kenya will be a proud holder of the chairmanship of this particular individual, Honorable Speaker. And this would in a way show gratitude to the many years of fighting for multi-party democracy, for fighting for what we call ugatuzi. Honorable Speaker, when we were young people, we used to hear Raila Amolo Odinga talk about ugatuzi and Majimbo. And we actually thought that ugatuzi was a very bad thing. We thought devolution was a very bad thing, that it will divide this country. But many years later, Honorable Speaker, after the enactment of the 2010 Constitution and the establishment of the 47 counties, we have seen development going towards the people. We have seen the people being involved in the way their government is being run. Honorable Speaker, I've had a privilege of traveling across this country. And it is sad when you go to some constituencies that have never seen any inch of a tarmac road. You go to a constituency that has less than 10% of power connectivity in that particular constituency, Honorable Speaker. And the hope is that this devolution that we fought for would cure these challenges, Honorable Speaker. And I'm hoping that our governors across the 47 counties, and it's great to see many governors who are working extremely hard and bringing a change in the counties, Honorable Speaker, would use this devolution to bring not just development to the people, but also bring the participation of the voice of the people in their governance, Honorable Speaker, to the lowest units of devolution, Honorable Speaker. You know, there is one a great Pan-Africanist who said that the habit of democracy must be learned by practice. The people must learn by experience how to govern themselves. That was one voice, a great Pan-African and socialist and a sociologist, Honorable Speaker. So I'm really hoping that this practice of the power of the people to govern themselves, both at the national forum and in the county forum, will bring out the best experience and give us the best leadership, and will also enable the electorate and the voters at the 5-year election cycle to evaluate their leaders from their words, from their development, and give us the best so that we can run this country and we can run this continent, and so that we can continue to become one continent called Africa, one people called Africa, and hopefully in future even have one nation called Africa. Some of the challenges, Honorable Speaker, that we face, for example, fluctuations in our currencies, is because we all have our small currencies. If you are in Busia, for you to cross over to Uganda, you can hardly use Kenya shillings to purchase something in Uganda. If you need to cross just next to the other border of Tanzania, you have to change your currency again to Tanzania shillings. Now, worst of all, especially when you're dealing with huge transactions, you have to change it to US dollars first, then convert it again to the local currency, Honorable Speaker. Our common market, with such a huge population of Africa, we have such a huge market for products, but even despite us passing different protocols to allow free trade movement across Africa, we still face bureaucracies and many barriers to trade, Honorable Speaker. Until recently, even traveling to one of our African countries, South Africa, you needed to have a visa. But you're hoping that now this collaboration in both free movement of goods, free movement of people across the continent, hopefully the establishment of an African bank and the establishment of an African continent will make us to live even closer together as one people, the African people. Without a begs to support this certification, Honorable Speaker, and congratulate the Committee on Defense for doing such a brilliant job in this report, Honorable Speaker. And perhaps lastly, to comment on what my honorable friend from Marakwet said on public participation. Every piece of legislation that comes to this House has to go through public participation. But majority of times, despite publishing in local diaries, Honorable Speaker, in the website, even parties that are directly involved or will be directly affected in these decisions do not even send a memorandum to Parliament. And maybe perhaps it's the time we revisited the public participation bill, I think that was introduced at the Senate, and give a criteria, because sometimes the language in which this legal framework in this legal language is put is not palatable for Northern Kenya. And maybe it's perhaps a high time we came up with a matrix of how to engage the public in these matters of public participation, so that this big concept like the ratification of the constitutive act of the Pan-African Union relating to the Pan-African Parliament can be in a language that would be more palatable to an ordinary Kenyan and make him be able to participate on its debate and legislation. Without a big support, Honorable Speaker.
Well said. I think you came prepared for the debate. The Honorable Member for Central Imenti. It's in the House. He spoke already. So the Honorable Member for Tharaka also spoke. The Honorable Member for Wajir North. The Honorable Sane.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The process of ratification of treaties, protocols, or any bilateral agreement is so clear in our Constitution. And I think what we are debating is really what we are supposed to do. Kenya as a country has participated in the making of this protocol, and there is all the purpose, intent, and the good is so expected out of it. More so when it is a Pan-African protocol, it goes without saying it is ours, and we are in the middle of it. Mr. Speaker, I don't know, there's some noise disturbing. Somebody must have dropped his phone, and I can't contribute. Mr. Speaker, treaties, protocols, and bilateral agreements ordinarily set courtesy rules for parties to engage. They put mechanisms for international pledge, agreement, and ways of working together in a certain orderly manner. Treaties give common commitments where people agree together so that there are no conflicts. It is a matter of commonalities, not disagreements. It gives opportunity to network among agreeing member states. Treaties showcase unity, Mr. Speaker. Unity of purpose, unity to troubleshoot just in case there are issues arising, and the unity to amalgamate in a very cohesive manner on purpose of social issues, economic issues, and political issues, and the Pan-African Parliament being brought on board will surely solve those three pillars which are key to this continent. Mr. Speaker, the protocol is a diplomatic tool. It's a diplomatic tool for engaging between African states. It is an interactive tool for reaction and relation. It aligns our values as Africans. We come from a common heritage and destiny. We have so much commonalities that hold us together as African states. It is like an economic block, a giant economic block, though sleeping. So it aligns our values, goals, and even our identity as an African continent. What was once a source of slave trade or human capital in the name of slavery can today come together in the form of a protocol or an international instrument to foster development, to agree on their own interest and come up with their homegrown initiative. That is what this protocol really looks up to. Mr. Speaker, it underscores that really we have a common history that is undeniable, that we Africans are brothers and sisters. We come from the same destiny, the same pedigree. That common destiny forces us to come together and discuss our own issues and come with local solutions to our problems, not always looking forward to foreigners. The answers to Africa's problems is in its own human capital and minds and intellectuals, Mr. Speaker. In a nutshell, this protocol takes to a higher level the political horizon of discussing African matters. There are dreams of having a United States of Africa. Many have dreamed of that. Pan-Africanism, blocks, whichever blocks, the Southern Bloc, the East African Community, we call by any name. All this is an African issue. This Pan-African Parliament will be a platform, an avenue to at least take it to a higher horizon, learn together, research, and put it on a continental platform, Mr. Speaker. Not in our local entities, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda. These small entities no longer serve. The world is competing on a broader scale, economically, politically, militarily. So it is time for us to come with instruments that bring us together to negotiate. I believe without much ado, this has nothing much to debate other than accepting. It is a belated one. It is quite in order, and I entirely support bringing the Pan-African platform and its consequent ratification. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do support. An order.
Honorable Speaker, I think I'm just judging the mood of the House, and I'd like to, understanding Order 95, to call the mover to reply.
Is the mood of the House that we call the mover to reply? The Honorable Sonko Nelson Koech. Chance to reply.
Stop using characters that do not describe my name, but thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, my good friend Speaker, and thank you very much for the members for their comments about this Pan-African Parliament Protocol. It's a very, very important tool that is extremely necessary to allow the operationalization of the Pan-African Parliament. There have been very promising sentiments from members here, particularly from, I had a member yesterday did say that it does not remember the last time the African Union had one voice and sat together somewhere with a proper structure to execute issues that affect, prosecute rather, issues that affect Africa as African states in such structured manner, like the Pan-African Parliament will be. Like it was indicated yesterday, Honorable Speaker, 15 countries have already ratified. So follows suit, and it was only this process that was awaiting so that we can be part of this Pan-African, exciting Pan-African Parliament with new structures. It's also exciting for members of Parliament, particularly those who will want to participate in Pan-African Parliament, knowing that it is going to be an elective position. So if anyone is going to want to be in the Pan-African Parliament, they will have to resign, if you're a member of Parliament, unlike the situation at the moment, and take the shape of what happens ordinarily with the East African Legislative Assembly. Honorable Speaker, I do not want to really bore members with many stories. I just want to say the comments have been very good and promising, and laud members of my committee for this noble duty and a lot of work that they put in, particularly those of legal mind. Chief Minority Whip Honorable Emilio Odhiambo has been very useful. I've been worked before in writing bills that deals with protocols, and I want to appreciate the entire committee for that. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply, but I would request that you defer the vote to a later date. Thank you very much.
Well done, and your request that the decision on this motion be made the next time the motion is laid on the order paper is acceded to, and we'll vote on it when it next appears on the order paper. Next order.
Order number 9, the Technopolis Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024, resumption of debate.
Honorable members, debate on this bill commenced 2 days ago, and it's open for debate. The last person on the floor was the Honorable Biris Kemei. By pressing intervention, I would be able to know which members would wish to contribute to this. Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. And let me say, as I stand to comment or give my opinion on this bill, I must give a lot of credit to my friend KJ, who has really let me understand technology. And I remember when we were with him in South Korea, he would take for us content creation, whatever that means, and indeed I like his passion for the project. Honorable Speaker, many of us will remember that Kenya has grappled with technology. Kenya has introduced and adopted technology over time. Vision 2030, Honorable Speaker, is hinged on the adoption of technology to drive this economy as we seek to industrialize and become a major manufacturing country. We have to do so, we need technology. And Honorable Speaker, let me also admit, the first time I touched a computer was when I was at the University of Nairobi. I must have been around 1990-something, around 1995 or 90-something. That's when I first saw a computer. And to actually work with a computer was much, much later when things started. Unlike this younger generation, who are literally born, and when they open up their mind, they have an electronic gadget in their hands. Honorable Speaker, perusing through this bill, it more or less leads to particular aspects of what we want to do. One, it more or less looks like a special economic zone or an EPZ. Secondly, it actually assumes some of the powers of the various departments of physical planning and land use planning organs in county governments at the national level. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, it would seem that this particular bill wants to copy and make sure areas slated as Technopolis are areas dedicated for the advancement of technology, for creation of employment in technology, and developing technology that will drive this economy and government services. Honorable Speaker, It also seeks then to repeal the order that established Konza Technopolis region, whatever it is called, so that now Konza will become a part and parcel of this process. It will require probably, in my understanding, but it has been saved here when they say the authority, former authority, means the Kenya Konza Technopolis Development Authority. It would have then, therefore, will have to be replanned afresh or replanned, confirmed, based on this provision of this particular area. Honorable Speaker, of course, the older generation, we are worried about the inversion, so to speak, of technology in our life. We are worried the potential misuse of technology. We are worried the harmful or the positive, whether the harmful, the other side of technology. Honorable Speaker, I read an article yesterday on BBC News, where they were saying technology has got advantage, but technology is starting to damage, in one or another, the younger generation, especially the adolescents and the youths. I therefore wish to beg and beseech those people who understand, can we use this vehicle to try and sieve the amount of content that the young generation, the young people, the young boys and girls are allowed to access? Can we, and I want to urge the committee, can we find ways of ensuring technology complements formal education and not replace formal education? Honorable Speaker, me and you probably, you could be young, but Sir George, the first thing we used to be taught was spelling. Nowadays, Honorable Speaker, nobody teaches spelling. They can simply Google, you type even wrongly, you go to spelling search, and everything goes. Honorable Speaker, I can assure you, even some of our clerks here and even some of our young members of parliament here, if you gave them a blank paper and told them to write an essay on one paper without using spelling check, without using the computer, without using the phone, Honorable Speaker, they will get 0 in spelling. I can assure you. So technology is good, and I really want the idea. But for heaven's sake, there are some basics in life should never be taken away. And that's why, Honorable Speaker, many good things can come through, but we need to be very careful. Honorable Speaker, looking at this particular bill, it has some provisions that will require to be addressed afresh. For example, Clause 6A says the authority has powers and functions to formulate administrative bylaws and guidelines for the sustainable development and management of our technopolis. We need to be very careful that we are not invading or we are not in breach of the provisions of the Social Instruments Act, as well as the Constitution that clearly states the lawmaking body is Parliament and nobody else. Honorable Speaker, it's a typical bill that has got administrative structures. I take again special objection and a reservation on Clause 7(1)(e) that says the membership of the board of the authority shall be 5 persons, not being public officers, appointed by the cabinet secretary. I suppose in the mind of the committee, there is an expectation that the appointment will be through a competitive process, so that the minister or the cabinet secretary does not sit down and generally decide to appoint people that have no capacity or people close to them and therefore compromise on the whole issue. Honorable Speaker, under Clause 17, it confers upon the authority a lot of mandate, have an extremely wide mandate. I'm not so sure, Honorable Speaker, whether this country has got the resources to provide the funds required for the authority, for example, to ensure that each Technopolis is equipped with state-of-the-art integrated infrastructure and facilities. Honorable Speaker, I'm not so sure. Even though one of the authority of the federal authority is to source for funds, raise funds to achieve their objective. Honorable Speaker, there are quite a number of progressive ideas. We will watch keenly. But Honorable Speaker, again, I want to bring to the attention, one of the functions is the authority will be the custodian or keep records or backup for state data, national data, and county data, and the same. We do hope it will have enough safeguards to ensure that there's no breach of the data to the detriment of the country and to the detriment of the individual persons, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, the issue of land use planning, Honorable Speaker, we will need to interrogate the issue of the buffer zone. We need to interrogate the functions of the county government as provided for in the Constitution. We must also look at the provisions of the Fiscal and Land Use Planning Act to ensure that there is no overarching, given the authority is not a planning authority, unless it will have to apply to be listed or licensed as a planning authority to prepare land use plans without the approval of the relevant county government. Honorable Speaker, we do hope the authority will decentralize this particular Technopolis, if possible, to all strategic counties. Busia is one of the strategic counties. I hope you will not forget Busia being a strategic county. With those very many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support the bill.
Thank you. Member for Buri.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, this bill is coming the right time. Mr. Speaker, the Kenya Kwanza government and now the broad-based government agree on certain things that need to be done to fast-track the economic growth of this country. Mr. Speaker, the issue of technological advancement is key to every sector that we are in this country. The Technopolis centers, Mr. Speaker, are supposed to generate so many positive impacts to our economy. Mr. Speaker, this is the same authority that I'm sure will try and enhance the technology among various institutions in many parts of our country. Mr. Speaker, if we really want to increase innovation in our country, we must adapt certain things or certain ways of doing things. Mr. Speaker, we need innovation in sectors like information technology, biotechnology, telecommunications, and advanced manufacturing, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we need to attract professionals, researchers, and entrepreneurs. Mr. Speaker, the secret of success in countries like US, Japan, and the UK is centered on the premise of understanding the advantages of having areas designated purely to enhance technology. Mr. Speaker, Kenya is known in Africa as a country of high level of technology, but it has never focused strategically to have it properly managed and executed. Mr. Speaker, this bill brings that focus, what is now required. Mr. Speaker, let's not forget that the government has said we must have an ICT hub in every constituency. Mr. Speaker, I believe that this bill will recognize and see how the Technopolis Center, the main one, and the one that is going to invest in, will join in the ICT hubs to enhance the advantage of technology among our youth. Mr. Speaker, we are looking at an opportunity here for creating jobs. We are looking for opportunities to enhance economic growth. We are looking for opportunities for innovation and research. We are looking for areas of collaboration, of opportunities. We are looking for opportunities on how to access funding. We are looking for opportunities on how to enhance infrastructural development. Mr. Speaker, we are looking for opportunities to be competitive in the international arena. Mr. Speaker, we are looking for opportunities to enhance entrepreneurial ecosystems and knowledge transfer and improve the quality of life. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill addresses those kind of objectives under Clause 3. Mr. Speaker, under Clause Part 2, it addresses the authority that will be charged with the responsibility. And I'm satisfied going through the responsibilities and functions of this authority, Mr. Speaker, is going to enhance the achievement of this objective. Mr. Speaker, we will need a lot of investment on this for it to be realized. But Mr. Speaker, everything comes at a cost. For us to be able to jump fast enough in the world of technology, Mr. Speaker, it is high time we support a bill like this. Mr. Speaker, I was in Kigali, Rwanda, last month. Mr. Speaker, we are slowly being caught up by countries like Rwanda who have made technology, service, and technology as their concern, as part of the economic agenda. And you can see the kind of investment they are attracting. You can see the kind of enthusiasm that is among the youth in that country. Mr. Speaker, you can see the kind of innovations that are coming up in the country of Rwanda. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill comes handy to address some of those issues that are mentioned, and I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, going forward, we shall have an authority, we shall have these centers spread all over. I will ask the national government to put more resources in these centers. Mr. Speaker, for the sake of our youth, for the sake of the economy of this country, we need to grow manufacturing, we need to grow manufacturing industries, we need to grow agriculture, we need to offer services, we need to be competitive in the world, arena. So, Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I support.
Member for Suba North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to support this bill and to thank Honorable KJ, who is very passionate about technology. I normally accompany him to the IPU, and is usually our expert on technology, very proudly showcasing Kenyan excellence. I also wish to thank the committee. And Mr. Speaker, I will be making very minor or proposing very minor amendments to the bill that basically relate to issues of governance, like the areas where we, in the board, it is proposed that there shall be 5 individuals. Mr. Speaker, I shall be proposing that, of course, that we have a gender balance and an age balance. Unfortunately, for some of us here, I think we need to ensure that the younger people are the majority, more particularly perhaps the Gen Zs should be the majority. And Mr. Speaker, first, because they are very technologically savvy more than us, but also it would also help in job promotion, because we saw part of the challenges that we are facing as a country is the youth bulge. that is very evident, especially because of the issue of lack of jobs. And few other governance issues, really. Mr. Speaker, I would want to say that technology is the present and it's also the future. And any country that does not invest in technology will be overtaken in the world or in the global economy. Mr. Speaker, I remember when I was just doing my university the other day, when I was doing my dissertation, and I handwrote my dissertation. I'm very good at using technology, but I handwrote my dissertation. And somebody stole my luggage in an Akamba bus on my way from Homa Bay to Nairobi, and it was an entire handwritten document. You can imagine how stressed I was. And I had 2 weeks to submit. There's no backup. And so I had to sit and research afresh. And what I remember is not just that, but I remember that when I was sitting, one of my good friends, Njeri Mwangi, who works at the Office of the Attorney General, introduced me to her sister, who she told us, you know, my sister knows how to use a computer. You can imagine, in my time, she told me my sister knows how to use a computer. So we went to her office, I think it was in Amref or something, over the weekend because she was helping me to type so that we don't lose the document again. And when we were sitting there, Mr. Speaker, I was perplexed. Something was coming through a machine. And I went back to my cousin who was so knowledgeable. He was always ahead of us, called Felix Ochieng. He went to Lenana School, even though Alliance likes pretending that they know, but Lenana School sometimes is way ahead of them on a few things. Mr. Speaker, I went to my cousin Felix and asked him, I was in this office and there was something coming out of a machine. And he told me it's called a fax machine. Again, in my age and time. Now fax machines are obsolete, almost obsolete, I think. I don't see who uses them anymore. But in this lifetime, so much has changed that I can hardly keep up. And that is why, as a country, if we can't move with the same speed that everybody else is moving, then we are actually going raised, that you consider especially the issues that have been raised by Mr. Honorable Undo, so that we build on it. Mr. Speaker, some of the issues that this is going to do is to create jobs. I am launching my book called Rig or Be Rigged on the 1st of October, on Tuesday next week. And one of the things that I was doing as I'm organizing around this is just, I'm amazed at the level of technology around just launching my book. And I'm just sitting back and marveling at all these young people. And interestingly now, I can no longer use people who are, I hardly use people in their 40s or 30s. I have to use people who are early 20s and 18s. Yeah, the Gen Zs. Because really, otherwise we are very boring and old and irrelevant. But what I loved also is that the way they are using technology to make money. You would be shocked, Mr. Speaker, the simple things that I see and I think they don't take much, which is called content creation and all that. How much the young people are charging. Maybe I'm charged more because I'm an MP, I don't know. But at least I am happy that jobs are being created. And if we can, one of the things that are raised around the Gen Z revolution was that we need to formalize this sector. And what is being done with this bill is also trying to do that, and I thank the committee. Mr. Speaker, one of the things that I love is that it would also be setting up a Technopolis. And I watch Crime and Investigation Network a lot. And one of the things that I see we are so behind on is when you have crimes on technology and issues of sexual and gender-based violence are increasingly becoming too many. Some perpetrated by the children against themselves, they are still crimes. Like, I think I reported here on the floor of the House about a case where, not university, high school students in uniform are having sex with each other, and it's being filmed online. We are seeing children having sex in swimming pools, and it is being shared online. Mr. Speaker, I want to link it with the issue of mental health. And I'd want to encourage the committee that part of the things that you need to do here is link technology as part of the negative spin-offs that Honorable Wundo was talking about. How do we link this? When you are young, you are very foolish. We were also young in our ages, even though we didn't do the things that now the younger ones are doing. But we made mistakes that are correctable because there was no technology to see. Some people stole here in their high school. There was no technology to cover. People did many funny things. Nobody covered. But now in technology, it is covered and it is being circulated. Recently, there's a lady who was buried in one of the areas in Luolan called Achieng, and her case went viral. Why? Because everybody was attacking Achieng at the funeral, and her children were seated there with their schoolmates, and they were calling that woman names. And it is good they were talking to a dead body who couldn't hear them. But there were young people seated here listening to them. How do you address those kind of issues? So we must also not only look at the benefits, but the negative spin-offs of technology, and I'd hope that we can look at that as well. And then one of the things that I'd encourage this committee to look at, when I was younger, we said there were people who are illiterate, who didn't learn to read and write. Can you also consider Gumbaru in technology? And I'm semi-Gumbaru in technology because I am literate, but I'm not that literate. And Mr. Speaker, if we don't move with the speed that is required of us, Mr. Speaker, I'm telling you, we will be left totally behind by these young people. And so we need to learn, maybe not at their speed, but we must catch up. Otherwise, we will not be able to understand their language, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, another issue where I would want us to look at this spin-off as well. Mr. Speaker, one day I spoke here about being a bad girl, and that has gone completely viral. All over the world, by the way, incidentally, America, wherever. I was recently in Ghana, and somebody walks up to me right at the airport and says, "Bad girl, I'm walking in the streets, bad girl." Technology. But that is not what worries me. I have discovered that, well, in terms of gender, majority of them are women. But young boys, 5 years old, young girls, 5 years old, walk up to me and tell me, "I know you from Parliament. I follow what you do. I follow what you say." The Speaker was asking me the other day, telling me, and the President told me, "Be a good girl." I will not listen to them, but I listen to the young ones, Mr. Speaker, because of technology. What I say in this House is affecting 5-year-olds and 10-year-olds. So not only is it going to affect us in terms of what we say, but can we find a way of controlling so that we don't mess up the minds of young people? I support.
Well said.
I'm still a bad girl.
I think it's a good time to hear from the member for Githunguri.
Mr. Speaker, I am glad that I've gotten this opportunity to contribute to this wonderful bill, and I want, from the onset, congratulate the chair of the committee that handles matters ICT in the National Assembly, the Honorable KJ, who I previously served with in the previous parliament in the same committee, a very informed member, and I'm sure the members of that committee appreciate that they have a talent in that committee. I participated in the making of this bill in the previous parliament in a way because I participated in the process of coming up with the idea behind Konza City Technopolis. Mr. Speaker, who knew or ever imagined that one time in the life of Kenyans would require oxygen? It only happened that during COVID, we all realized that we needed oxygen. Who knew that in the life of Kenyans, we would scamper for every available cylinder for oxygen? How many lives did we lose because we could not supply sufficient oxygen in hospitals, clinics, and dispensaries during COVID? I think that's an insight that we need to adopt from and start from. that whenever we are doing any planning in this country, we must give room to new ideas, innovations, and make sure that our structural design accommodates for such new ideas and innovations. Today, any person designing a hospital without accommodating or creating space for oxygen distillation, oxygen pumping, and gas and tanks for storage would actually be doing this country a lot of injustice. Anybody designing a hospital must consider how to put those structural requirements in place. Mr. Speaker, I am of the opinion that anybody designing a house, any form of a structure in this country, must be doing this country an injustice if we do not come up with a special room called technology room. Even in this parliament, on top of these galleries, we have technology rooms. And that is why we are able to adopt and move with a new technology year in, year out. Mr. Speaker, last parliament, we didn't have all these television screens we have here. We only had one. Now we have how many? About 7 or 8 in the room. And these are new jobs created, by the way, because these are all cameramen given new jobs to focus on parliamentary proceedings. What am I saying? I'm saying the idea of this Technopolis moving from Konza centralized place to a decentralization program is a welcome idea. We must have a Technopolis in every sub-county, if not every ward, so that in future, if we require to adopt, for example, we need to adopt the way we are covering our events using drones. If we need to accommodate such kind of technology that is coming and it's coming on in year out, we accommodate new technology. So I am just concerned that we are running now to take every available land that is left in our neighborhood. We are running to build markets and affordable housing. Every other available space in our country, we are adopting new markets and affordable houses. And I'm wondering, the land that was put specially for innovation in agriculture, for example, the land that was used for agricultural development cooperation, the ADC pieces of land that are available in Nyandarua, available in Nyeri, available in Kiambu, we are running there to build affordable houses, forgetting that we may need those pieces of land for the new technology innovation that is coming. I was telling my brother KJ that right now we are floating in an era called the new information age era, where models of technology are being adopted, new telephony is happening, we are moving from the old age to new age. When we all run to our land and occupy on affordable houses and markets, what will happen tomorrow if we have another COVID of a new nature that require us to have, for example, rescue centers, more rescue centers? What will happen? Where will we go? What will you use? So I'm not fighting. I'm not here to say that affordable houses are not good. But of course, we cannot just grab every other land, take every other available space and occupy it with markets, forgetting that we are also moving technologically. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say all the pieces of land that were left for agricultural training center, the ATCs, every district, the so-called district in the old constitution, had an ATC, an agricultural training center. We should not run to transform that land from ATC to affordable housing. We should be thinking, what sort of a technology should we adopt so that we can help farmers marry with the new technology instead of abandoning the agricultural training centers and making them markets and affordable houses. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill. And in fact, I advocate that every sub-county should have some space left for Technopolis. In that Technopolis, we should be able to use technology to help our farmers. Mr. Speaker, I'm just from my constituency in a place called Liuki, and I was meeting about 1,000 farmers, coffee farmers. And to my shock, that coffee factory is officially dead. Those are factories that used to help us to process our coffee, pulp our coffee, market our coffee. 1,000 farmers were crying to me as their member of parliament to assist them to revive that coffee factory. I asked in the group, I asked, who is here who can help us to revive this coffee factory? They nominated 3 young Gen Zs who have degrees in economics, degree in commerce, and a degree in agroeconomics. And they are in the village idle. We are crying that we have no money in our pockets. We are crying that our coffee have nowhere to be pulped or factory to operate, but our children with degrees are in the villages. Don't you think we need to think very critically? Something is not right with us. How do we educate people with degrees and then we collapse the factories where we are supposed to be employing them? So I have engaged myself in the meeting with the farmers, and we have agreed that we are going to even fundraise. If we cannot get money from government, we are going to fundraise to make sure that we revive that coffee factory. But Mr. Speaker, that is not where I am. I am saying I wish this Technopolis center, one of them, would be brought to Lioki village. And that Lioki village, there are so many learned young people, Gen Zs, who are ready and ably equipped by the government of Kenya, and they have papers to work in such kind of centers. So I appreciate the idea. I appreciate the ideology. I welcome the thoughts that we can actually decentralize Technopolis from Konza to even my village in Githunguri. And how I can't wait to see us thinking in a manner of how we can be able to use technology even to cure the existing economic problems we have. Mr. Speaker, about 2 months ago, I traveled to native Italy. Native, that means the very interior places of Italy. And I realized that the generations of the early 60s, 40s, 60s, built their houses, and every house had a bunker. Every house has a bunker. You know, the underground bunker. Because they built and designed their houses ready for war. Those bunkers helped them so much and keeps helping them even now during winter. Those are the bunkers that they use to store their wheat during winter, and they secure their food. Unfortunately, majority of the young population in Italy have moved from the villages to the towns. So the native Italy villages are abandoned. But there are still bunkers being used to store food, even for export market. People who designed those houses were ready for a sanctuary. They were planning for a sanctuary existence. Technopolis ideas of Kenya, what we are reading from this bill, it is our planning for a century to come. And we must accommodate Technopolis in every village if we can. I support. Thank you very much.
Well said. Member for Kaiti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me opportunity to contribute to this important bill, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I give my contribution, I also want to thank the committee through the chair, KJ. We used to be in the same committee last parliament of ICT, and with Wamushomba, and I also contribute. I can say I'm proud of this bill because I know I'm a part of a contributor. We are the pioneers of this bill, Mr. Speaker. And I want to support the committee for the good job they are doing. And I think, Mr. Speaker, technology is the way to go. Mr. Speaker, I want to say that in the last parliament, we also amended a cybercrime bill, which, Mr. Speaker, helped Kenyans a lot, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's through technology, Mr. Speaker, whereby our youth are benefiting nowadays. Because, Mr. Speaker, there are no jobs in the country, and I can say that even through the technology, our young people, after the college, after the university, they make their own businesses. They make their own business through even TikTok. They make some contents and sell it in the platforms to create, to improve their living standards, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm saying through technology, when I was sitting here, I was just remembering those years when you used to use the telecom, the big phones, whereby you used to call someone, you used to go to the nearest market, 10 kilometers away, to make a call to someone in Nairobi or into the city. But currently, through technology, Mr. Speaker, we have mobile phones whereby when you are working, you can make calls and even make business through the phone, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason why this bill is very important, Mr. Speaker, when we go to technology, Mr. Speaker, just see that the technology in agriculture, Mr. Speaker. Through the new technology machines, we are improving in our agriculture in our country. And Mr. Speaker, is through this whereby parents, even in the villages, they can use the new technology, Mr. Speaker, and afford to improve their living standards, and they are even in a position to pay school fees for their children through the technology, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I remember I went to several countries, Mr. Speaker, in the last parliament, Mr. Speaker, when we are working on the issue of Konza City, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, this city, and that's why I'm encouraging this government to take this city serious, Mr. Speaker, because Techno City is the way to go. Mr. Speaker, in future, that Techno City, when it becomes the project will be completed, Mr. Speaker, I think many Kenyans will benefit from it. Jobs will be created, and Mr. Speaker, even our young people will benefit through e-learning and other technologies, Mr. Speaker, in that city. So that's why we are saying, Mr. Speaker, we are proud of Techno City, Konza City, and we are requesting the government to put more resources in that city so that our people can benefit, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I remember, Mr. Speaker, when the president was talking of ICTs in constituencies, Mr. Speaker. I think this is a great idea, Mr. Speaker. And I want to say that, Mr. Speaker, if we can make sure, even through the CDF, Mr. Speaker, and that's why, Mr. Speaker, when I hear people yelling, saying that the CDF is not constitutional, we should do away with the CDF, Mr. Speaker, I know that Kenyans down there, they are crying when they hear such sentiments, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through CDF, we are capable to do ICT centers in our wards. And Mr. Speaker, I think we also need to support that. Because, Mr. Speaker, if we have ICT centers in our villages, it will help those youths after Form 4. They go to learn computer, they not learn other technologies, Mr. Speaker, because currently, Mr. Speaker, technology is the way to go. I remember, Mr. Speaker, I was challenged by my son, who is in grade 6, Mr. Speaker, grade 4. I was traveling to a city somewhere in Oman. And Mr. Speaker, my son asked me about how is Oman, how is the climate of the place. And Mr. Speaker, by that time I had no idea. Then he went through the phone and Google and learned about, and he told me, Dad, you have to go with these clothes, you have to do this because this place is like this and this and this. Mr. Speaker, I was challenged by my son. Then I said, surely, we need to improve technology in our country. And we need to embrace it because, Mr. Speaker, it is helping our people and it is also making the coming generation to depend on their own, Mr. Speaker. Through Google, Mr. Speaker, technology has made the world to be a small village, Mr. Speaker. You wake up in the morning and before even 30 minutes, you know what is happening globally, Mr. Speaker, through the technology, Mr. Speaker. That's why I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, without technology, I don't know where as a country we can be heading. And that's why I'm saying, when we are supporting technology, Mr. Speaker, we are making our country, taking our country to another level, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, through the technology, Mr. Speaker, we can improve our economy. And Mr. Speaker, if you remember where the Kenya was some years back, Mr. Speaker, but through technology, Mr. Speaker, we have M-Pesa currently, Mr. Speaker, whereby you can do transaction through your phone, you can move with your office. Because when you have if you have your phone, you can do all the transactions you want. You can do pay bills, you can also do business with your phones, because, Mr. Speaker, the technology is there for moving of money from your bank. Nowadays, Mr. Speaker, if you go to our banks, you get they are empty. Because people are using the technology, Mr. Speaker. So I think, Mr. Speaker, this bill came at the right time, and this is a bill whereby we need, as members of parliament, to give it to support it and give it a weight. Because I'm telling you, the bill is long overdue, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we also need to attract some investors to invest in our country through technology, Mr. Speaker. And this one is will attract the foreigners, Mr. Speaker, if our laws are good, if we make our laws strides, whereby when an investor is coming to invest in our country, he feels comfortable because he's protected by the law, Mr. Speaker. And I think the committee, that was the thought of the thinking of the committee, Mr. Speaker, because they want to make the law to be straight, to make the law to be favorable to our investors, Mr. Speaker. So I think by supporting this law, by making this bill to be a law, Mr. Speaker, will also improve the economy of this country, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I think with only a few amendments, Mr. Speaker, this bill can be one of the best laws, Mr. Speaker, to help our economy in this country. And Mr. Speaker, I think this is the way to go, and I want to thank KJ, the chair of the committee, and to tell the committee to continue with the good job they are doing, because now we can see light in this ministry through this bill, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
The honourable member for Wajir North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the outset, this bill is a very important bill, and I also wish to join my colleagues to appreciate the work done by KJ and his committee members. However, I wouldn't forget one thing, that he has broadened the nomenclature from being technology being reduced to a Konza city issue to today accommodating Wajir North, Bona, Korondile, and Wajir North sub-counties are part and parcel of the Technopolis. Initially, it was limited to Konza. The realization that this technology is a global issue and a countrywide need in itself is worth giving him the accolades he so deserves, and his committee. Mr. Speaker, technology is so important. We have seen the wonders artificial intelligence is doing these days. You don't have even to think. You just ask, why should this? What is this? And everything comes on your phone. Time is of essence these days, courtesy of technology. Efficiency has improved in terms of production and doing work. Mr. Speaker, even in military aspects, environmental, medical issues, farming, even cattle rustling today has reduced drastically. Banditry has reduced just because the country has deployed a wonderful use of technology, that you can no longer just take a herd of cattle and drive it away for thousands of kilometers and make use of them. The military will catch up with you, or the owners of those herds will be up with you just because technology is at play. That is how technology is in the realm of all facets of our life as a society, Mr. Speaker. But few things. I do accept that there is this ICTA, the authority to regulate and manage the sector, the digital and technological aspects of the sector. But my concern, though not conversant with the law, how does it correlate with the Communication Authority of Kenya? Might there be some duplication? Remember we have a 2010 constitution that is so expensive to implement. The economy is not doing well. Are we coming with more institutions to burden the taxpayers? Can't we have a secretariat within the Communication Authority of Kenya to regulate and manage this sector than coming with another authority? This is just an idea. I am not trying to negate this wonderful bill, but just an idea. Must we create many structures? Must we burden the taxpayers? Isn't it worth having a leaner government that can easily coordinate and deliver efficiently? It's a concern I have. Mr. Speaker, the special economic zones so spread across all constituencies and wards is a welcome move. The hubs, the ICT hubs so espoused by the Kenya Kwanza policy. It goes a long way. This bill goes a long way in implementing and making sure that that happens. Huduma Center, over 3,000 government services have gone digital. And if we take this technology to every ward in this country, Kenyans, constituents, my constituents in Wajir North, which is on the Ethiopian border, do not have to travel 350 kilometers to Wajir town headquarters just to seek a duplicate for an ID card, to seek a birth certificate, a death certificate, some clearance from KRA, all those services that are online. I'm sure this bill is a blessing, is indeed a blessing and the best of the legislations in the 13th Parliament to make sure that the citizenry have a close interface with their government and service delivery, Mr. Speaker. In as much as I'm talking of all those good things about the bill, there is a danger. In every good thing, there are risks. I can feel there are some inherent risks, controls and checks from anything bad emanating from such kind of legislations, Mr. Speaker. Bill is objective, but how do we secure anything deleterious, dangerous, that can come out of it, Mr. Speaker? Of late, we have seen a small falsehood has been spinned in the social media until our country was nearly down during the demos. Yes, picketing demonstration is a right, but the misuse of falsehood, peddling falsehood, lies on social media requires some stringent controls. Stringent controls. Anything that is online cannot be taken as gospel truth. We need serious controls and management of whatever goes through these mechanisms, or technological mechanisms, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the security of the country is paramount, and that is pegged on what we peddle or what goes through these technologies we intend to support, Mr. Speaker. There has been serious moral decadency. Our sisters have been abused, left, center, and right. My senior, Odhiambo, has been complaining just now of what her contribution, going viral across the world. How do we manage this? Why should our female folk be target of bad publicity? Why can't we use the technology in a very objective and constructive way? Authenticity of information is questionable today. That 99% of the information on social media is entirely false. So what will Kenyans consume? The consumers are in a very perilous position. What should they take? What should they consume? So we are at a time to make sure that we regulate on what is right and stop what is wrong. And this correlates with the Cybercrime Act. The Cybercrime Act. I think it must wake up from sleep and make sure that whatever goes around in the internet, in the technologies, is authentic, dependable, and verifiable, Mr. Speaker. One other big risk, we are going through intellectual degradation. Students cannot put a simple word in their right spelling today until they go to Google, Malimu Google. We have lost that capacity. Making a simple sentence structure is a problem, even for graduates of universities. Why? Because of our dependence on these gadgets, technologies. In as much as they are welcome, in as much as we can't do without them, we must ameliorate the impact of these technologies on human capital. Human capital is now becoming a robot, Mr. Speaker. We are no longer natural. We are becoming machines depending on just gadgets. We are losing our capacity that is endowed. So I think technology must complement, should not kill that which is endowed. Mr. Speaker. Without taking much of the time, because my colleagues also want to contribute to the debate, I appreciate this bill and entirely accept and support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Member from Mkurueni.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I appreciate this opportunity. Honorable Chair, I want to appreciate the bill that has been presented in this National Assembly this afternoon by Honorable Chair KJ, a very diligent young man, I dare say. And of course, Honorable Chair, I went to school in Honorable KJ's constituency. And today, Honorable Emilio Odhiambo has recognized and appreciated how well our school is disciplined, performs in a way that is way better than what the Honorable Majority Leader here has made us to believe, that the Alliance High School is the best school in this republic. But for sure, Lenana School really is way better and performs and produces all-round students who are able to deal with the challenges of life in a much more practical manner. And I want to appreciate Honorable KJ for now. He has built Lenana Primary School, and that is also serving the nation in a way that we would not have thought before. Honorable Chair, I want to come to the debate that we have today about the Technopolis Authority bill that we are now debating. Honorable Chair, as you are well aware, all the way from our primary schools, we are teaching our children on coding. You know, today, almost every other primary school, including public primary schools, we have coding lessons where students are taught on how to do coding right from the time they are young. Honorable Chair, you'll also appreciate that not a long time ago, we did not have smartphones in Kenya, and every other person was just happy to deal with a kabambe, a very small phone that you'd be clicking the buttons. And sometimes they would get rubbed off, and sometimes you'll not even be able to see the alphabets. Honorable Chair, today when you go to up country, you will hear people talk about the touch phones. In my language, they will call it touchy. And older women and old men who are in up country are now able to use the touch phone, and they're able to use the smartphones in a way that you would not have thought before. And they're able to communicate, they're able to write messages, and many of them, you'll also find them now in social media groups. And this tells you that people in this country have been able to uptake technology. They have appreciated technology very, very much. If you look at the government programs, they seem also to be moving in the same direction. As we talk today, we have the Last Mile project, whereby we are having connectivity to every single village in Kenya. Honorable Chair, today as we talk, you know that we have the backbone fiber cable that is headed to Turkana. We have backbone fiber cable that is being put in northeastern Marsabit. You go to Wajir, you go to Garissa, you go to Meru, you go to Nyeri, you even go to my village in Mukurweini. You'll find that we have fiber cables that are being laid. That is a backbone fiber cable that is much bigger. Then you also have the last mile cables that are being either taken through trenches, or some of them are being taken through the Kenya Power posts. Honorable Chair, this tells you that we are making this country a fiber cable cobweb in a way. It's a web that is going to be in every village. And this means that every home, every public institution, every other village, every shopping center, every market is going to have access to fiber optic. It's going to have access to internet. Honorable Chair, it is then important that as a country, we be able to harness this resource that we have been able to take to the last mile. You're also aware we also have a satellite internet that has now come to this country, and it is penetrating in the villages, even where the fiber cable will not have reached. That means that we then must be able to harness this infrastructure that has been put in our country. If you look at also what is happening with the young people, we have now the content creation. Every other young person with a smartphone is a content creator themselves. Many young people today are able to access the job market abroad. They are able to engage in gainful employment through their smartphones. And that is the reason why we could not have had a better time to have this bill than now, Honorable Chair. That we have someone sitting and thinking about a Technopolis that is going now to help us to have the space, to have the opportunity, to have a platform to be able to bring about all these resources that we have. And of course, the most important resource in our country today as we talk is the young people. It is the knowledge that we have with our young generation. Honorable Chair, you know we have AI, artificial intelligence, that has now hit its peak at this point in time. And for that reason, a lot of people now are appreciating the role of AI in the technology in our country. You know very well that what we thought was something that was alien, something that would only be happening in foreign countries, is also happening in Kenya, the issue of use of robotics. We have hotels, even in this city, that are today using robots. I very recently watched a documentary of a hotel somewhere, I think in Kilimani or Lavington, which is using robots to serve the customers and the clients who are getting to that hotel. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to appreciate this bill and say that it has come at the right time and say that we need to support it. The only issue that I want to ask the chair to look at is to ensure that as we are transitioning from the Konza Technopolis to a Technopolis that is going to be serving the whole country, or an authority that is going to be serving the whole country, we ensure that we also keep it lean, so that we do not also introduce much more bureaucracy. We also don't overburden the taxpayers, because you know we have a challenge in this country whereby every time we have an authority, we have a parastatal, we have a new body that is created through this parliament. And of course, that also means that we end up having a challenge of too many cost centers and so many agencies and sagas that we have to fund from the budget. And so for that reason, I want to request the chair to ensure that as we are looking at this authority, we make it lean and ensure that it doesn't add more burden to Kenyans than what we already have. And it's important that we look at what we already have in terms of Konza City. We use that infrastructure without having to make it more bulky and without having to make it more top-heavy, to ensure that it is able to serve the Republic without having to look for more people and more costs that are going to add to this. Honorable Speaker, as I finish, I want to say that we must also appreciate the issue of regulation. In this era of technology, we are finding that our people are running too much on misinformation and disinformation. And so we must ensure that we are using the issue of, we are looking at the Kenya Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act afresh to ensure that it is able to control and have more guided penalties on people who go against the set rules and regulations. This is going to help our people to run much more on proper information than misinformation and disinformation. For disinformation and misinformation can truly bring a country down, where people are given the wrong information and they take it to be true. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. I submit.
Thank you. Two honorable members, there being no further interest on this, particular bill. I now call upon the mover to reply.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you. And allow me, as I'm thanking you, to also appreciate the contributions of all the members who have spoken to this, and at the same time, also appreciate the ministry, the drafters, and the parliamentary staff who have helped us to get to this stage. Mr. Speaker, in replying, I ought to say that the Konza Technopolis Development Authority already exists. However, that authority is limited only to the purview of that area called Konza. And what this bill is seeking to do is to make sure that if Kenya decides to establish another technopolis out of Konza, there shall be a legal framework for it. Presently, even at Konza, which is alive because of the Kenya Technopolis Development Authority, exists only for 10 years. However, even in Konza, they are leasing land for 10 years that are going up to 90 years. So what this bill is seeking to do is to transition the Konza Technopolis Development Authority into the Technopolis Authority that covers way beyond Konza. This is because of the reasons that members are giving here. Honorable Speaker, I have sat through this debate. Amazing bills that have been put onto this bill. Great start. You know, we had the Honorable Wakili Murugara starting us off with great insights as to why we stand to benefit by making sure that this bill allows us to have Technopolis in other places other than Konza. He went into the deep detail of telling us how we stand to benefit with the transition clauses that are provided in this bill. And I want to thank the Honorable Murugara. I want to also thank the Honorable Karemba, the Honorable Mawathe, all who contributed to this. And this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, we had Dr. Undo putting in some amazing bills. He was talking to us about the potential misuse of technology and how we can use the provisions that we are putting in this new bill to curb against that. And that is a theme that has run across many members talking to us about the dangers of technology and why we need to mitigate against that. Honorable Undo is asking us whether this bill purports to usurp the powers of the planning department. And I stand here to say no. When we build Technopolis, we are not taking any power out of any existing entity. In fact, for us to be able to see it visually in our mind, it would take two things. One, to visit the Kenya Technopolis, the Konza Technopolis, and see what development is happening there as Kenya works on developing its own Silicon Valley. And Mr. Speaker, I have to report to you that as we speak today, almost all horizontal infrastructure that is needed for Konza is already in place. And in fact, now Konza is working on the vertical development, and Konza is now ready to even attract multinational big tech companies to come and invest in Konza because the installations there, the smart installations there, allow for us to have the first ever silicon savanna in the continent, and thus propelling Kenya to the front of the pile in terms of development. Mr. Speaker, there was a concern from Dr. Oundo asking us, how do we deal with the issue of humanizing technology? And it is a real issue, Mr. Speaker, that even as we are developing and advancing so fast to digitize, we ought to remember that we ought to be humanizing the digital systems more than the digital systems digitize us as humans. Because we would not want a place where technology comes to replace human intelligence or replace human knowledge. Honorable Rindikiri is saying that there is an opportunity to connect the digital innovation hubs that we are building in our constituencies to the Technopolis that shall be built going forward. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Millie Odhiambo was on the floor a bit earlier, and she did speak to us about the governance issues. And I want to agree with her. And on that, I would not even want to even have a pushback, because she would have a better understanding as a wakili, but even more so, she would understand the provisions that are given by Mwongozo, and so it is for the authority, when it is formed, to take into consideration that in governance, we must include our young people. We must include both genders in the running and governance of this Technopolis. Honorable Millie Odhiambo was also telling us that this is a good opportunity to formalize this whole technology space, and there is an opportunity granted even by this Technopolis bill. And she also did contribute on the negative technological spin-offs that are in the offing, and she did put some very good bills to that. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba was keen to let us know that we are not only talking about today, but the future. She was propelling us into a future that we can imagine ourselves. So rather than hope for a good future, she's saying to us, let us imagine that good future that we want. She is saying to us that we ought to reserve land for future development. We have to find a way of ensuring that we are thinking beyond our lifetimes. But most importantly, Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba was asking whether we can have a Technopolis in every constituency and county. And Honorable Speaker, allow me to inform the Honorable Gathoni wa Mushomba, because she does know that a Technopolis is in itself a city. It is constituencies that will have to be fitting in our Technopolis and not the other way around. Honorable Kimilu, a former member of this CII committee, he himself, sitting and neighboring Konza Technopolis, is giving us all the benefits that there is to having such a city, sitting astride 3 counties, the county of Machakos, the county of Kajiado, and the county of Makueni. And he is saying to us that we need to think of how to put more resources so we can have more Konzas in this republic. He is also calling upon us to think about how to attract more investment into such amazing developments like the Technopolis. The Honorable Saneh Ibrahim was talking to us about how this bill goes to equalizing and being able to bridge the digital gap. Mr. Speaker, I took that very seriously. We sit in a parliament called the IPU with the Honorable Wakili Millie Odhiambo. And she will tell you that when we stand on the floor of that global parliament, the parliament of parliaments, bringing together 186 parliaments, we are championing for data representation. We are championing for the reduction of the divide between the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere in terms of data representation. We are keen to ensure that Africa does not slip through the 4th industrial revolution. And so what the Honorable Saneh is saying to us is important and it is critical. Honorable Saneh did ask, is Konza Authority combined with ICTA, combined with Communications Authority, are they duplicating roles? And the answer there, Mr. Speaker, is simple. No. In fact, Communications Authority is a regulator, ICTA is an implementing authority. And so the roles are very well defined and they sit well in a sector that is able to produce enough A&A to run all these bodies that we're talking about. As we speak today, ICTA is asking our committee to increase the bar for them, for their AI, their A&A. They're able to even generate more A&A than what Treasury is giving them as a ceiling. Honorable Kagushia is the one who has closed this debate, but Mr. Speaker, you shall give me the latitude to donate my final minute to a member who is here with us, the Honorable Bernard Kitur, and that shall be with the discretion of the chair. But Honorable Kagushia brought to the attention of this House that coding is an important and integral part of our syllabus today, if we haven't made it. That even some of the courses that we are giving to our learners, some of them might be obsolete by the time these learners graduate. The Honorable Gathoni Mwamushomba was reciting to us that she has been to a meeting where a coffee factory has closed. And in that coffee factory, she found 3 degree holders holding extremely good papers, but are not employed. And that is why, Mr. Speaker, we have to ensure that our curriculum and our syllabus is not only relevant for today, but relevant even for the future. Honorable Kagushia is calling upon us to ensure that when we are creating new authorities and new bodies, to make sure that they are lean. And this is a concern that is addressing the austerity measures that are required for this republic, and I want to agree with him. He's also calling upon us to revisit a bill and an act of parliament that was brought by our committee, the Kenya Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. And I'm imagining that he's calling upon this parliament to relook at it because of some of the happenings, of recent happenings in the country, where misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, and even blatant fake news and deep fakes are becoming a part of our national conversation, where, Mr. Speaker, you're not even able to tell the difference between the real news, the fake news, the deep fakes, and even outright lies. And he warns us that this has the potential of burning our country. But the Honorable Kagushia also has some good things to say to us by reminding us that this bill and the creation of Technopolis around the country also gives us an opportunity to take advantage of the already existing infrastructure, the infrastructure that we are developing, and also to give an opportunity to some of the young people who are technologically savvy to be able to serve their country. And I want to say to Honorable Kagushia that these young people shall not only be serving the country, they shall also be feeding in data that shall form part of data sets that shall be fueling the next revolution, which is a data revolution in the new emerging technologies, up to and including artificial intelligence. And so, Honorable Kagushia might be well informed to run ahead and install and institute digital innovation hubs in his constituency that would be able to join our young people into this big Kenya Superhighway digital program that is in the offing, and as such benefit his constituents. Honorable Speaker, the long and short of it is that this Technopolis bill gives this country the opportunity to realize the aspirations that are espoused in Kenya Vision 2030 that seeks to create Kenya into a knowledge-based economy so that we can contribute into this new world where the race is already on for who shall be championing the fourth industrial revolution takeover. And we believe that this gives an advantage to Africa if Africa was able to jump onto the bandwagon so that we can see more Konzas, more Technopolis around the country, so that we will not only be talking about one Technopolis, which is Kotda, but Technopolis in every corner of this country. Mr. Speaker, invoking standing order number 1, I would like to ask you, just out of your discretion, to kindly give a minute to the honorable member for Nandi Hills, just to put in a word or a comment on this, because I do understand that after the mover has moved, I know the only thing he may be able to do is to put in a comment. Honorable Speaker, I do move that this parliament passes the Kenya Technopolis bill. I thank you. And I beg to reply.
Thank you so much. I would have loved to give the Honorable Ketura a chance, but what will you be contributing on? You've already made your closing argument. You've replied. You were given a chance before you started. Yeah, Honorable Ketura, I'm sorry. But that's what I'm saying no to. You've already closed the debate and asked us move to the next stage of the bill. So it is not possible that that happens. That is why you always ask chairs, order, the Honorable KJ. That's why you ask chairs to understand the rules. If you want to donate your time, you donate before. I understand that really. Yeah, correct. The Honorable Member for Suba South.
Mr. Speaker, I rise under Standing Order number 35 to draw your attention, yes, to the question of quorum in the House, because there are very important bills that are coming up for second reading, and I think it would be grossly unfair to discuss those bills in the current state of the House, particularly the ones on ethics and anti-corruption, as well as even the ones I was supposed to move. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, the matter raised by the Honorable Member for Suba South is self-explanatory. And as you know, when that happens, my hands immediately get tied. I therefore order the quorum bell to be rung for 10 minutes. The bell can be stopped. Honorable members, time now being 6:41 p.m. This House stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 1st of October, 2024 at 2:30 p.m.